Much appreciated, Hara'im Hababjad Efrayatap, for those words of wisdom from the Wapian calendar scroll. And thank you everybody for attending today for another Wu-Sabat Outformation class UK, brought to you by All Eyes on Egypt, Midlands in the North, as a part of United Sabians Worldwide. If you want more information about who we are, UnitedSabiansWorldwide.com with the W, all W's in front, is an excellent resource for you to find out who we are and more about our culture. Understand? Known in this day and time, as I say, Wu-Sabat, the spiritual science of the Negroid, or Nagaru, as we would say in the Sabaic language. Okay, so obviously in part 16, we were talking to you a little bit about epigenetics. So we'll continue down that route today and hopefully be able to close out that subject today and then move to something different for the next part. But let's open the class accordingly. So in the first instance, let's do just a couple of polls if we're able to, please. And first one, we just want to make sure, can you hear my voice clearly over the background music? So if you're able to vote on that for those who are in attendance, can you hear my voice clearly over the background music? So you need to swipe left or right on your device just in order to participate in that. I'll give you a few seconds just to respond. Okay, seems most of you can hear me okay. If there are any issues, please feel free to place some comments in the chat and then we will see how best we can support you. And the second poll is just to make sure you can see the screen okay. So we've got a fair amount of visuals today. So for those joining us not by telephone, should be able to see a screen with a newspaper on the front of it. So can you see that screen okay in front of you before we start delving into this class in a deep way? Can you see the screen? Okay, again, I'll give you a few seconds to answer that question. Okay, excellent. Seems most of you can. If there are any issues, then by all means, please put comments in the chat and we'll see how best we can assist. Okay, so what we're going to do, for those joining us for the first time, we like to start off our class in a cultural way. So Partak Yud is known as the affirmation. Going to play that where, you know, the brothers and sisters or sisters and brothers are coming together in unison. And that's a skill that we have to sort of relearn to assist in elevating back our spiritual powers. So just listen to the tones and we will obviously translate that into English for full and proper overstanding. So just bear with me 1 second. We'll stop one and then play another. Bear with me.
Barur, 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 Nabab, Nadar, Mukhtar, Naut, Mughdad, Badet, Patah, Naut, Mukhlas, Badet, Yaanuwn.
Partak Yud.
Anuki, Jawef, Ashuk, Hem, Paut, Wukalal, Ashuk, Kawun, Jawef, Neya, Anuki, Kasam, Em, Paut, Wu-Sabat Kawun Kasam Neya Anuki Wahu Ane Paut Wu-Sabat Kawun Wahu Ane Neya Nakuk Kadur Najah Ane Kasam Em Paut Wu-Chabub Ane Mushkhasum Nakuk Kadur Kawan Kalal Pafaf Nakuk ame aratni kawun laye bakoi jawef papaut anuki abadaya nafashni papaut kawun anuki papaut kadur nakuk kadur papaut amul nakuk amul.
Okay, so that was a Partak Yud. Let me just click in this other. Indeed. Just click in this. Bear with me. Right, nice. Okay, so let's just go through that in the English language for those who don't speak Sabaic. So we said, Holy, 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 Master, Overseer, Almighty, no God except Ptah, no Saviour except Yaanuwn. Partak Yud, the affirmation. And we said, I am in the divine love of the all-expanding, and all divine love is inside me. I am a part of the all-expanding, and the all-expanding is a part of me. I am one as the all-expanding, and the all-expanding is one as me. I can succeed as a part of the all-expanding and fail as an individual person. I can be all that I wish in the all-expanding, as long as my wish is to stay in the all-expanding. I am never by myself. The all-expanding is, I am. The all-expanding can, I can. The all-expanding does, I do. So that was Partak Yud. Say a link, or say a positive affirmation that we say on a daily basis, linking us to our ancestors, and I suppose giving us the respect, time back into Pa'ut, which is dealing with the all-expanding. You understand? So existence, obviously we acknowledge, you understand, the darkness of existence that we are a part of and have always been, in the same energy state before the material state or the matter state that we find ourselves in today. So the very origin of things, no beginning, no ending, always has been here, and we acknowledge us as a part of that. Now, if you join us for the first time, let's quickly run through how we use the Zoom platform. So if you need to adjust your audio settings for any reason, the options are here on the left-hand side. If you have any feedback, whatever, positive, negative, whatever the case may be, that's not a question, feel free to use the chat to engage, type your comments in, and also the reaction button on your platform as well. You can use that periodically in the class if you feel emotionally inclined to do so. It's an interactive session today, so it is a class. So if you do need to ask questions, and don't sit there in ignorance, please ask what you need to ask, and I'll do my best as your student teacher today, Nabab Cackney Hess, to answer your questions. So two options. One is to raise your hand. That gives you the opportunity to come in live and ask your question directly to myself. You'll raise your hand. It's on a first come, first served basis, and you'll see a message on your screen when your name's called, asking you to unmute yourself by one of the facilitators. We'll unmute you, and then you can come through and obviously ask your question directly. If you've dialed in, which I don't think anybody has today, but if you have, then *9 to raise your hand, and then when prompted, *6 to unmute yourself. And again, in both instances, we just ask you to mute yourself back once you ask your question, as to not disturb the rest of the class. If you do not want to come in live, and then you can place a written question, press the Q&A button, place a written question in that area, and then one of the facilitators will ask that question on your behalf today. And if it's not clear or you want to follow up, then please feel free to use that same medium or mechanism to do so. You'll be glad to know, or some will be glad to know, there's no quiz planned today, so a few things to get through. So no quiz planned today, but we do use the quiz at times just to recap, so that the knowledge that you're learning in these classes, which sometimes can be quite a lot within the few hours that we spend teaching. So we just actually get you back to think in the doctrine which we're teaching. Do you understand? Thinking in a Wu-Sabat kind of way, because our minds have been real twisted and brain dirtied almost in a sense by the Western Hemisphere through bad information, you understand, and obviously the education system. And so getting us to think in our culture, getting us to think like our ancestors thought, from at least from a doctrine understanding point of view, takes a lot of time and effort. So we use the quiz mechanism just to aid your learning, your study. Now, okay, so quick overview of the founder of our organisation. So Dr. Malachi Z. Kabina York Okran, born in Takoradi, Ghana, West Africa, on June 26, 1945. Was born to Miriam Abba Okran York, also known as Fatima Miriam, and Al-Hadi Abdul Rahman Al-Mahdi. You understand? So Ghanaian by birth, currently a Liberian diplomat, and so in a 135 stretch at the moment. And when we start to go through his classes, you'll see really, I suppose, the reason why, and here even from the man's own voice from over 20 plus years ago in many classes that I've taken, and really to understand, the threat that he posed in, I suppose, bringing what we was considered to be the actual facts to our people. Do you understand? First, almost in a sense, the type of understanding that we have about many different subjects are here long before, the Western Hemisphere even, I suppose, promoted or taught that to the world, and bringing an overstanding as opposed to an understanding to many of those subjects. Now, when we were teaching, or when he was teaching in the 60s, into the 70s and the 80s, 90s, people thought we were crazy, we were kooks, because of many books that took you from the monotheistic understanding, dealing with angels and gods and so on and so forth, and using that modern day terminology, aliens, extraterrestrials. You understand? Even that book, again, some of these stuff's over 20 years ago. Is God an extraterrestrial? And a picture of a reptilian face on the front of that book. You understand? And now we see, I think we see Mexico, governments now seemingly exposing a lot of information that's been kept hidden from the world, and we see, alien bodies presented to the world that, say, appeared in our books, which, some try to ridicule us for, while holding on to books like the Quran, the Bible, and the Torah, as if those books were factual, as if those books didn't have crazy sentiments in that didn't make sense. You understand? So, but that comes at a cost. Overstood for many of our leaders who we have had over particularly the last 100 years, and for our people as a shifting of the cycles in the last 6,000 years. That comes at a price. You understand? Whether people have been assassinated or killed or character assassinated, you understand, died poor from their sacrifices throughout their life for their people. And we're hard people to teach. You understand? We're hard of hearing. The spell and the interception of the Caucasian or Mukasu within our genetics and our genes has made us rebellious against ourselves. And so it's very difficult to find the love and the care to work and move alongside each other, because so much of what was ours, do you understand? So much of what's on this planet that should have been accredited to us, that knowledge has been burned away by many, our enemies, burned away by those who love and hate us at the same time. Do you understand? And this cancer that plagues the planet called racism, you understand, has affected many, particularly those in the Western Hemisphere who were brought here by way of kidnapping, or, do you understand, promises of, the land of milk and honey through positive migration, and then when they got here, they found there was only hate waiting for them. You understand? And so many of our lives have been, navigating the waters of hate. You understand? Purported by those who would not want to see us develop truly into who and what we are and supposed to be, as obviously as deities of this planet, not just men and or women in that regard. You understand? And so, which obviously is better us being who we're supposed to be according to our ancestral design, according to what we were designed to be and fulfill our true purpose, is only better for all human beings on the planet, being that the Nagara or Negroid is the mother and father of all races on the planet, also known as the All Nation, being that race, or the updated term for race, is planetary nation. So again, very important that I suppose we keep the one sent to us at least, who cared enough to put that knowledge being conveyed to us by our ancestors in books, in a fashion that will make us want to read, study, and as I say, retune our minds again and realign us back with natural nature. So important. We've always been a matriarchal society. So Mary Abbott of Cran-York, obviously a very important role in producing the physical body of Dr. Malachi KZ York, and the coming together, say, of her and her mate at the time, to produce, as I say, this vehicle or vessel that would allow our ancestors to speak to us in this day and time to convey the information that was needed. Yeah, taking a long walk on a short path, meaning there was a lot of information to be conveyed to us in a very short period of time. Yeah. So I'll skip through these. Check out our previous class if you want more information. But importantly, in ancient Egypt, this term Amun Nabab Raye Akhtar, understood, who the Egyptians in fact referred to as that being as a Thahuti. You understand, is a vehicle or a vessel allowing our ancestors to speak for us, as I say, coming a great sacrifice to the physical body of the being. Do you understand? Because of those who would, as I say, who hate truth, you understand, hate facts, and hate for our people to be, their free eyes to be opened, their two physical eyes, and their mind's eye overstood above the original pyramid, which is our nose, overstood in the middle of our forehead, so our mind's eye, we see things how they really are and what they were supposed to be. Do you understand? Realigning ourselves with the frequency of the spiritual science of Wu-Sabat, brought to us, as I say, by Amun Nabab Rayakta, also known as Dr. Malachi KZ York, in 1963, so all the way back, excuse me, some 50 years ago. Say 50 years ago, does that mean my maths correct? Yeah, almost 50 years ago, in that regard. Well, in fact, it was 60 years ago, if my maths is correct, so someone might check me on that. But 60 years ago, this is how long, and how much sacrifice have been made. You understand? Almost 1,000 books written on many different subjects, so we could understand those subjects under and above the sun, even things that we didn't even know that we needed to know. Understand? All of which is important and relevant to how we got here, and what is our true purpose in the omniverse, and who and what we are as a people, and the role that we need to take to change things around. You understand? Remove the negative forces and energy from this planet, and bring back nine ether once again to the forefront. Yeah, so things are in tune and aligned with natural natures. We see the great turmoil of climatic changes happening around the planet, which was expected, and as we were outformed to be informed, to be ready in this day and time for that which is destined to take place. So let's get back to where we were on part 16. If I can remember. So we had finished going through in some detail, I think, this process of epigenetics. Do you understand? Or this which we always sort of knew, but the fact that how you live your life today is going to affect your progeny, because you obviously 100% of your DNA, but 24% of it is in a sort of static, in a transient state. So it's continually changing and reacting to the environments that we're in, And as I say, when you have children, you effectively almost a snapshot of you isn't it? It's taken as part of your genetic makeup, and you donate that forward in order to produce that child. Yeah, so a child is made up obviously of 1/3 you, 1/3 father, excuse me, 1/3 their mother, and then 1/3 of the child makes up the new the proper triad. You understand, of us, which is a 3-part ticket to make us whole. You understand, as a human being. Yeah, so 33 1/3, 33 1/3, 33 1/3, and the child, obviously, as we've explained in previous parts of this class, given that there's quite a few, that the child is representing, remember, the expression of the mind, and brought the mother and father together, overstood almost in unison or in sync with each other, in order for this child, you understand, to come through. You understand? So it's the mental aspect of us expressing itself here in the physical. Same the previous parts of this, we go into that in some detail. So probably a bit heavy just to summarize, but that's what's taking place. You understand? But we know that one of the rules of who we are, so which is dealing with the rules of things, you understand, is that all things and a thing can one the same. So the reality of it is that when you donate a piece of yourself, i.e., if it's male, you're donating that sperm, or female, obviously donating the ovum. Remember, that is a carbon copy almost of you. Do you understand? To the letter, obviously, or at that time, in that moment, you're donating forward. Do you understand? That small part of you is the whole of you. Do you understand? So part and whole, as one of the sciences of our race, understand, or divine attributes of our race, over certain characteristics, is that when we donate that forward, it's the whole of us. Do you understand? Represented as part, and obviously is expressed in all of our cells. Do you understand? Within our body. So this is important to know. But the link between, as I say, how we live our life today and the impact it has on future generations, and carrying forward of not only behaviors, attributes, diseases, positives, even trauma, and how that affects future generations is understood. So many like to dismiss the impacts of racism, and dismiss the impacts of what they call slavery, but the kidnapping of our people, and even taking them from an environment forcibly that's not theirs, and putting them in an environment which wasn't conducive for them, and the impacts that has on our genetics going forward. So epigenetics, and the concept of epigenetics is understood. We reflected that, as I say, understanding with the number 4 in terms of numerology, dealing with 4, obviously, generations. When you look at the depictions of the deity Ptah Waret, you understand, the hippopotamus, shown as a hippopotamus, understood, or upright hippopotamus standing on 2 legs, understood, represent the female, and we find her at the center of who the Greeks referred to as Zodiacus, and we find her at the center of our star map, not the Zodiac, but the Dendora star map, representing the fact that human beings are reptiles who are also mammals. You understand? And in fact, if you look at the definition of mammal, that really only covers females. It doesn't cover males, because males don't breastfeed. So mammals breastfeed. Do you understand? And males do not. So that definition doesn't cover, it covers the human race if we reflect the fact that we all come from females in that regard. But if you applied it for its proper definition, it doesn't cover us all. So we understood the link between reptiles and mainly we understood about the animal aspect of us also living in a physical structure or physical body. And 4 is important. So Ptah Waret, if you look at the pictures of her, she reflected the quality, do you understand, or quality principle, that a woman can be a mother, a grandmother, a daughter, and a woman, 4 in 1 at the same time. And if you see her standing upright, you see she has 4 toes. reflecting the force. So the genes always shift every 4 generations. You understand? And this is important because clearly those who understand that, so tell the world one thing and you understand, have knowledge, secret knowledge that they're operating off. So the operative knowledge, sometimes I'm using it maybe in a slightly different way, but the operative knowledge that we see sometimes governments and other heavy kind of hidden forces, you understand, Bilderbergers and other groups that are making decisions that I suppose affect masses on the planet today. I think there was a class played last week that went into that in some detail. Have a sort of heavy impact on the world. You understand? These orders and forces, do you understand, obviously have a level of knowledge that they're operating from. It's just not shared with the masses. Do you understand? And maybe, as we've seen now with the release of a lot of extraterrestrial uncovering and various other things, as I say, we would call kooks for, still, even today, are called kooks for, yet the government, so of your so-called governments around the world are now discussing this, talking about this in real kind of ways. So when the white man talks about it, it's cool. He's not a kook. He's not crazy. When we talk about it, we're a cult. We're crazy because black people are only allowed to talk about or believe in the Bible, the Quran, the Torah. These are the only things we're allowed to talk about. You talk about anything else, step out of pocket with those kind of things, then you're under attack. And more so from the ignorance of our own people. Do you understand? Which is the sad thing that happens. But obviously the love and care from the many teachers that we've had over the years, you understand, obviously has left the markers for change in the genes, as well as the trauma that's happened in the genes. The markers for change is in the genes, so at least future generations have become more open-minded, become more aligned, more receptive to the actual facts that are now being presented before them. You understand? So epigenetics and generational shifts and managing that, as I say, people who understand that can manipulate and have been ready, be it the hip-hop generation particularly, where we went from where 9 Mind came in, but also 9mm. But I say that kind of change and shift that we talked about before of in the hip-hop kind of sphere, where it was sort of conscious music, had a conscious angle to it, and then shifted to more the kind of gangster rap element. And then now we find that what's promoted, I should say, not necessarily what's out there, but what's promoted gives it less balance. You understand? It's all about trapping and money making. Everybody's a drug dealer. Do you understand? Etc. 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 It doesn't necessarily reflect the sort of conscious, unifying elements, anti-violence almost elements that were in those seeds. You understand, of hip hop, fun. You understand? Various different, as I say, styles and types of hip hop. But one of the ways in which we converted a lot of people received that awareness, conscious awareness, or cause them to think about, want to find out who they are about themselves. And music can have that, obviously, impact and effect. And they know the power of tones, things of that nature, the science of sound as it relates to us, a very important part of our culture and a very important part of our spiritual growth. You understand? And ascension. So obviously being manipulated now, we see, say, the rise of women back to female leadership, you understand, become more matriarchal. So things are returning back to what they originally were. And as we've discussed, we've seen once again, those where nature is making that shift, the Mukasu and their false or fake culture comes in, and now, as I say, the drug dealer and the stripper is the new superheroes promoted in. So to young people, maybe generally, and particularly to the black community. Do you understand? Words like ratchet and things of that nature obviously come to mind with certain adverse behaviour. You can't build a culture and you can't build or restore a nation with. Yeah, many destructive behaviours are promoted, as I say, at the forefront, and people are able to become very wealthy promoting a lot of nonsense. Do you understand? And that approach of things, as I say, is making us unintelligent and so maybe not even worthy, but not equipped to take advantage of the shifts in nature that happen. This is deliberately done so that we miss key dates and key targets around that. So all of this, as I say, with the incarceration of the master teacher, Dr. Malachi K.Z. York, you can see, as I say, and we show the diagram, I haven't got it in front of me today, but a diagram that shows a kind of a Nicki Minaj, Megan Thee Stallion type picture. Do you understand? Very highly sexual in its nature, and then showing you the young people, I suppose, of Wu-Sabat. Do you understand? Back in our crowns, back in the Saviour man suit, back in the attire of the sacred feminine. Do you understand? And us getting back or restoring our royalty to our divinity back to our genes once again. And they look very different. Do you understand? I say a 3 ether or ghost stationer way or 6 ether way of presentation versus the 9 ether way of presentation. Do you understand? Self-destruction is what they teach. Self-preservation is what we teach. Do you understand? In terms of the 9 ether side of things. And unfortunately, because of the interception within our genes, we say we don't want the ways of the Mukassu. We say we reject it, the ways of the West in that regard, but something in us obviously does like it, and then our energy transference or interest in that helps to keep it alive when nature is trying to, say, implement positive change world over. Okay, so let's go through these. So we went through, as I say, one important things, I suppose, in the last class was, this sort of idea. So that, well, not idea, but the facts that, not many people on the planet are actually what we would consider to be white. Do you understand? So if you are of the white race and RH negative, that is the white race. Do you understand? So everybody else doesn't fall into that category, no matter what the how white people want to be on the planet. Actual definition genetically is over the RH negative blood types, and that's what their ancestors through COVID-19 and I'm sure other viruses along the way are seeking to wipe out. Do you understand? And how they gave their people or their children, as they would classify it, as 6,000 year rule or dominion over the planet, which is their Adam story in their Bible. And that's what it's making obviously reference to, or that project, or a series of projects in relation to that. So RH negative blood types, and as we touched upon in the last class, not the one last week, but the one prior to that, I think part 15, in going through the fact that obviously somebody understood enough to protect against the RH destructive blood type by inoculating the world with RH positive blood types. Do you understand? So this is not something that was there originally, came along afterwards. This is why some confusion some people are confused maybe in the doctrine, where it talks about obviously simian intervention, tailless monkeys, and things of that nature. But that interception or intervention in the genes brought in RH positive blood types, protecting, as I say, those races against the potential insertion, which came along much later, of obviously this RH negative blood types. You understand? But we obviously originate from the waters of this planet, and that's our origin. The mermen and women of planet Patanun, or Earth, as they refer to it as. Okay, so I think we were here. We were here. So so we were in the part, as I say, going into the fact of, or reminding you, I should say, because I think we've probably covered it partly in this class as well, about this food for the gods, doctrine and understanding, or the uncovering, as I say, that the Bible in itself is, just keep it 100%, is an extraterrestrial menu book. You understand? And even the names of the countries, and we're talking about British, you understand, or the word British, in its understanding, we look at it really, it comes from the word Hebrew, barith, for the first part, Brit. Yeah, barith, you understand, deals with covenant. Yeah, but its root, bara, you understand, is dealing with flesh or food. Do you understand? So, and ish has two meanings really, as I say. You see it spelt with the IS, well, I won't say IS, but the if not English, but English transliteration, you see it spelt with the IYSH, and that would mean man, but you see the same phonetically sounding word as well, ish, it's an ISH, and it means fire. Understood? So you got this word ish for male and ishasha for female. Understood? And as I said, this word ish means fire. So when you're saying British, you're saying covenant of the children of fire. You understand? Which ties into the Illuminati. Do you understand? Obviously, the adverse Illuminati, because we are the original illuminated ones as sun people. Do you understand? So, if you look at it, so we're the ones who are burning black because of the black light that burns within us. Do you understand? When you breathe on your hand, you feel heat. Understood? So, so the true children of the sun are the illuminated ones. Do you understand? And so that came from our mystery schools, but obviously when it went over into ancient Sumer and later on into ancient Babylon, obviously they've co-opted it for their worship of fire. You understand? And obviously fire as a tool can be used in a destructive way, but it's also, excuse me, a symbol of renewal or change. Do you understand? Because obviously when you get naturally occurring forest fires, do you understand, and things of that nature, what you tend to find is that they obviously kill or eliminate decaying and disease, plant life, etc. And the fire obviously produces or burns with this ash, do you understand, which then sort of renews or refertilizes the soil, do you understand? And obviously new growth then emerges as a result, do you understand? But they've used fire in obviously its destructive way, not to renew that which was there before, but rather to take over, do you understand? And implement their modern ways of doing things. And as we said, the word modern comes from the word mode. It means instead of us to be in a 360 into a 720 vibration of things, the mode is locking us in to a certain way of thinking, which eliminates. So to maybe 2 degrees of information, everything's based in this society on the number 3. You understand? Old school kind of understanding of the spell, 3 little pigs, 3 billy goats, gruff. Do you understand? All these type of things are based on person, place, and things. We can't think outside of it because we're locked into this spell or a certain way of thinking. Okay, so let's get back to where we were. So we're dealing with, as I say, understanding of the flesh, this food for the gods doctrine that exists. So let's read from 179. Any questions before I move into that? Any questions?
No questions.
Okay, cool. Please feel free to ask them so you don't stay there in ignorance. Nonetheless, now 179. So it says the covenant made with Noah, Genesis 9:9, was the jasad, flesh, and daman, blood, selected to eat by this deity, as you read in Genesis 8, verses 20 to 21. His Lord loved the smell of burning flesh, sweet savor, and the covenant was made with Abraham, Genesis 17:2, also of jasad, flesh, and daman, blood, the circumcised cutting of the jasad, flesh, and the yielding of blood. So when we keep switching around, it's because here in these instances, for those just joining us for the first time, this is the Sabaic language. So in typical kind of Nabab Yaanuwn or Nabab Yaanuwn style. We learn the language, learn our own language, as well as understand this doctrine. 180. And also Abraham built altars and was going to offer his own son to his God. Genesis 22, verses 1 to 2. A human, damam, blood offering. And so did Moses, Leviticus chapter 1 through 10. And they ate the jasad flesh of the offerings, just as Abraham's visitors. The Lord and 2 angels sat with him and ate a calf. Genesis 18, verses 1 to 8. His Lord ate an animal's jasad flesh. This same one asked for his son, a human's jasad flesh. Yeah, so we see a lot of this activity going on in the Old Testament, the Torah, as they have it, and we never questioned it. We never looked at it with rational eyes to say, well, who's this being that we're dealing with? Do you understand? When we thought we were of that his story, you understand? So we never questioned it. You understand? We just thought, okay, well, it's a bit odd, but it's just one of the stories that's pitched to you as a child, and then you're not really looking at it rationally. Do you understand? Because God is good. You understand? Not maybe looking at it, well, you don't know God. Judge the story by the actions of the being. Do you understand? To determine whether God is good or not. So it was already sort of defined for you that this being was all powerful and seemingly positive, but yet had some odd peculiar behaviors that we never questioned. Do you understand? Other than the fact that it seemingly be a lesson, but if you think about, as I say, meat burning on a barbecue, then you understand. And for those who are meat eaters, that is. But when they smell the burning flesh on top of the barbecue, you know exactly why the Lord loves it. You understand? Especially if you're hungry and you're into that type of food. You understand? Chicken wings and these type of things. You understand? Burning on the fire, whatever. Chicken, blah, blah, blah. If you're hungry, you know exactly why the Lord loves that smell. Now, that doesn't extend into human beings. Flesh burning on the altar. But as I say, many things in this society which get presented to us. It's not like you've got some device or whatever that you plug into the food. If you eat food externally, and you plug the food in, plug some device in, it tells you, well, they say it's chicken, but is this what we're really eating? Do you understand? So you don't know really what you're eating other than by what you believe the taste of that thing should be. Do you understand? And that's how we've been programmed and raised. And, there's things that happened in the past. In Britain, there was a scandal where, as I say, lasagna, people thought it was, beef, obviously, which comes from cows, and not knowing that they were using horse meat. In Europe, in certain countries in Europe, they eat horse, and they were blending in some of the horse meat in with the, with the beef, or seemingly beef. So, obviously a shock to, countries that love certain animals, isn't it? Some countries love horses, some countries like horses, but they also like eating horses. Yeah, and in some countries, culturally, that's a no-no. Understood? Other countries, it's just a normal, run of the mill type of thing. Like some countries, they eat dogs. You understand? This would horrify probably 99% of the Western Hemisphere. Do you understand? But as I say, it is what it is. So you have to understand important thing to understand is who's sitting behind, who's sitting in the seat, who's speaking, what's their culture, who are they, what rules do they live by. All these types of things are important. You understand? Because of how certain things get interpreted. Yeah, in some people's culture, recently in Mexico, human sacrifices were part of certain cultures. You understand? Within there, some ancient cultures, and they had seemingly fantastic technology go around the pyramids in Mexico. Well preserved. They had fantastic technological grasp. Do you understand? And implementation. But dealt in some practices which to us would be, to some people in today's society would be considered heinous, and to them it was normal. So you can still be technologically advanced. You can still have, you can still do a lot of positive things in the world, and human beings just happen to be on your menu. You understand? So, which, as I say, throughout this particular books, this is part of the culture that the ignorance of the spell has us ignoring. Do you understand? Ignoring the facts of what we're looking at and the nature of who's, as I say, leading those people to do various different things for a purpose that, as I say, as recently, certainly within our doctrine, was uncovered by the man who's doing 135 years for revealing these facts. 181. The same stories are found in the Quran of Islamism, offering his son to Allah and sitting with Abraham, Allah, and two of his angels to eat jasad flesh. Quran 51, 24 to 28. 182. So the Madatat words, British, Britain, Celtic people, it's the same. They have a covenant with jasad flesh eating Gadadu gods, why they allow so many Indians and Africans to settle in Britain. 183. French Europeans still eat human jasad flesh and make the man blood offerings. 185. So many go missing in America and in Europe, as America is and was the New England, a Harad, child of Britain, the little dragon, given power from the Great Britain, the great dragon, Revelations chapter 13, verses 1 to 2, and on to verse 18. So it says, Revelation 13, 1 to 2. Then I stood on the sand of the sea and saw the beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name. Now the beast I saw was like a leopard. His feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth was like the mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him power, his throne, and great authority. And Revelation chapter 13, verse 18, here is the wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 300 and 300. His number is 600, 300 and 6. Understand? So 666. Obviously, we understand that there was a mistake in the translation. That should be 616. Is the original number, but nonetheless, we see obviously the symbolism in those books. Obviously, reads a certain way, but it took, as I say, the master teacher to really uncover the symbolism, which was his job, I suppose, as Sayyid Imam Isa al-Mahdi, having the discernment, you understand, the two-edged sword, having knowledge of the Semitic languages as well as English, you understand, to really go into detail and uncover the symbolism that sat within those books. So there was real proper understanding before the year 2000, in a sense, taking you from a religious understanding really into an overstanding of these primary or first 3 degrees, as they would say, basic studies, really of Mosism, Christism, and Islamism. So Moses being the principal character in the Torah, Jesusism or Christism, Jesus being the principal character in the New Testament, obviously in the book of Revelations and the book of John. And then we see the Quran there with Mohammedism, or Muhammad being the principal character in that degree. Understood? So all of which, was to say, was dealt with in the first 30 years, from the opening of the 7th seal, 1970, obviously down to the year 2000, the first half an hour, for the master to uncover, as I say, those mysteries, and saying the mystery of who and what their God is. Understand? And it's understanding that you understand that God is the devil. You understand? And basically, the devil and God in their stories is one the same being. You understand? Who they worship. So see here, 185, 3 times 6, 18. You understand? Yeah, the primary kind of number in many parts of the Western world where you basically get to do what you want. You understand? Yeah, self-destruct. You understand? So this is where you turn into, or seemingly, you get your adult rights, so to speak. But nature obviously gives you become an adult when, obviously in the male sense, when you have your first wet dream, and in the female sense, when you have your first menstrual cycle. 186. So the European nations, 7 heads, 2 of them are the 2 parts of the horns of Baphomet, the goat man Pan. Yeah, the British Isles, including Great Britain. 187. The Great Covenant of Jasad, flesh and blood offerings. Yeah, so we can see here this image, as I say, of Baphomet in the sand, and symbolically, you see the horns is showing there, one of those which is representing these countries, you understand, of the combination, isn't it, of the European Union, and then we add, obviously, some of the key countries of the United Nations, you understand, G7 and others who are running, as I say, the sort of New World Order, as you would classify it today. You understand, or the New Babylon. And we see clearly that America, in its origins, is a child of Britain. So hence we have, in Britain, we have York as a place in northern England, do you understand? But you have the New York, yeah, in obviously America as one of the 50 so-called states. So New York obviously represent old York, and then we see the symbol of what the statue, the female, not the Statue of Liberty, but the stature of liberty of this woman or female holding, as I say, an instrument of fire, a torch, you understand, which is one of the tools that they use to burn down, yes, older societies that had that prehistoric knowledge, you understand, so they could establish their historic knowledge and looking like they were the authority in deciding what or what is not authentic, understood, and there would be nothing to challenge their lies, you understand, and the modal shift, you understand, which changed the vibration nature of us going from facts to now belief, you understand, and the things of their nature, lies, you understand, belief, myth, understood, which you see is prevalent within their society. They get mad, yeah, they're arguing about things that, and getting mad about things that are being, that we watched as children. Do you understand? So you're getting 50-year-olds or 40-year-olds, 30-year-olds arguing about things like Star Wars because they employ a character as of a certain colour, or Lord of the Rings. You understand? If there's black people in there, then they don't want black people in there. They get mad and start crying about different characters, etc., in their thing, or the story being changed, so for modern interpretation. But if you think about it, these are, or there's this controversy around Snow White and the 7, whatever it is now, dwarfs or whatever it is, not even dwarfs now. 7, I don't even know what it is. But they're different, 7 differential people or whatever the case may be. So they get mad. Yeah, but when you really analyze it, this is children's stuff. Yeah, so it adds weight and lends weight to the observation that was taught to us that, in the DUF 1220 that we were talking about in several parts ago, the combination of this, or the designer gene that was used with the combination of Anunnaki, the Pleiadians, in their creation of the Adamite race, that because a simian was used in that configuration, that they only evolved mentally to the age of 13. Do you understand? So games, you can't play games, but like gaming, all these types of things, arguing Star Trek, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, you understand, all these Marvel, DC, you understand, these are the most prevalent things, or prevalent things media-wise, cinema-wise, within the society, isn't it? Do you understand? And it's all kid stuff, do you understand? Destructive in nature in certain instances, etc., etc. But all kid stuff that people are throwing out loads of emotional energy and arguing about, so on and so forth. You understand? Yeah. So, and if the person who's cast or whatever doesn't look like them, they get mad. Yeah, so just like a child who can't get their own way. And so we see the limitations of, let's say, what's being expressed with other, obviously, agendas going on currently at the moment. So let's continue. So 187, the Great Covenant of Jasad, flesh and blood offerings. 188, to this very day, cannibalism is still going on behind closed doors with Adamites world over, as well as satanic offerings to their Baphomet under the guise of the Yaanuwn, animal offerings at religious rituals by Jews, Christians, and Muslims. Those who know their secrets don't have a clue that the deals the white world government leaders have made with extraterrestrials to exchange humans for their menu for technologies. 189. Over the Shamutat years, millions of people have gone missing, abducted, offered to them as food. 190. Most started in the West after Hitler's people came to the USA under Project Paperclip of immunity to connect the USA to the extraterrestrials who worked with the Nazis, and our presidents made deals or covenants, and it's still on to this day. So let's look at something about Project Paperclip.
Seizing the resources of a defeated enemy has been common practice since the beginning of recorded history, and almost certainly even long before that. The appropriation of assets from the Third Reich after the end of the Second World War in Europe, however, was one of the most unique and modern examples in history. The seized assets were not just base economic resources, such as money, gold, and other more common riches, but scientific resources and knowledge, both of which had become strategically important to national success as the 20th century progressed. Today, we're going to talk about how the West scooped up German scientists at the end of the war as part of Operation Paperclip. Shout out to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes, covering dozens of creative and entrepreneurial skills. Explore classes in everything from animation and graphic design to documentary making, cinematography, and more. Skillshare is also incredibly affordable. An annual subscription.
I'm just going to change the settings so it plays a bit smoother. Give me 1 sec. Share that screen.
Subscription is less than $10 a month. Our viewers often ask for advice on how to start a YouTube channel, and Skillshare is the best answer to this question. If you want to be on camera for your channel, Maddie Brown's low-budget filmmaking course is the place to start. Skillshare has a special offer for our viewers. Learn from hundreds of the link is in the description. The Second World War has been referred to by some as the first scientific war, with the use of such technological advancements as radar and jet engines, and eventually even the nuclear bomb, which proved decisive. Despite being eventually crushed by the weight of Allied armies and resources, Nazi Germany possessed technology which was reportedly superior to that of the Allied powers in many areas. The myth of the Wunderwaffe, or wonder weapons, was a chimeric favorite of Hitler, but in reality, there was a hint of truth to their existence. And if the weapons existed, or were in development, that means that there were people with valuable knowledge which could be exploited by whomever possessed it. As the Allied armies pushed into Germany during the final stages of the war, they were followed by more than 3,000 scientific and technical experts, agents of the Combined Intelligence Objectives Subcommittee, or CIOS. This was a joint British-American task force established in London during the summer of 1944, with a goal to investigate all things related to German science: radar, missiles, aircraft, medicine, bombs, fuses, chemical and biological weapons, and so on and so forth. However, they didn't act alone. Another technological recovery operation, also known as the Alsos mission, often collaborated and even competed with CIOS to gain as much as it could from the defeated enemy nation. It was this group's agents which received a large pile of documents from a Polish lab technician at Bonn University, containing a classified list of the Third Reich's top scientists, known as the Ossenberg list. This text contained names, addresses, and other key details on Reich scientists, and was used to create a blacklist of names to be arrested. At the top of the list was Wernher von Braun, but more about him later. In the aftermath of Germany's surrender, the Joint Intelligence Committee, or JIC, was keenly focused on confronting the emerging Soviet threat. To appraise the situation, its operatives wrote 16 major intelligence reports between June 15th and August 9th, 1945, the most important of them detailing the military capability and future intentions of the USSR. In short, it warned that Stalin's Soviet Union was an ideologically hostile entity which would continue to seek global domination. In October, JIC Intelligence Report 250/4 advised the Joint Chiefs of Staff that, quote, 8 of 10 leading German scientists in the field of guided missiles, unquote, had gone missing, probably seized by the Soviets. More disturbingly, 2 entire German physics institutes had been disassembled, transported, and reassembled in the USSR, a harbinger of, quote, intensive Soviet scientific research programs, unquote, underway across Russia at the time. It was this fear of losing out which prompted an intensification and systemization of US attempts to appropriate German science, including its scientists. In late summer of 1945, a subdivision of JIC was created, the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency, or JIOA. This new group quickly gained total control of a rapidly expanding Nazi scientist program called Operation Overcast, renamed Paperclip in November of 1945. From the moment JIOA took control, the employment of Germany's scientists was specifically and strategically aimed at achieving military supremacy over the Soviets before the latter could dominate the United States, setting them up in such areas of the United States as Wright Field, Ohio. The morality of employing potential war criminals was, for the most part, sidelined by the military establishment due to the perception of a ticking clock. It was determined, rightly or wrongly, that military supremacy needed to be attained by 1952 at the latest, when it was predicted that the Soviets would have regained their full potential. So, what were some of these German scientific and technical marvels that the Allies, and the Soviets for that matter, had cast their covetous eyes upon for acquisition? Let's begin with German rocketry, and perhaps the most famous example of an Operation Paperclip scientist. The German V series of rockets, and in particular the V2 rocket, often considered a terror weapon, was an unprecedented device which no fighter aircraft was capable of shooting down, and which proved perfect for demoralizing enemy populations because of sheer helplessness. Advanced systems such as the V2 prompted Dwight D. Eisenhower to say the following, quote, "It seemed likely that if the Germans had succeeded in perfecting and using these new weapons 6 months earlier than he did, our invasion of Europe would have proved exceedingly difficult, perhaps impossible." End of quote. The man at the center of the V2 rocket program was a prodigious German scientist named Wernher von Braun. A man in his 30s at the end of the Second World War, he came from a wealthy, aristocratic background. A group predominantly composed of rocket scientists, including von Braun himself, and General Walter Dornberger, surrendered to the Americans on May 2nd, 1945. By this time, von Braun was already at the top of CIOS's blacklist for rocket research. Von Braun was confident his work was so important that he would never be harmed by the Americans. In his own words, he, quote, "did not expect to be kicked in the teeth, as the V2 was something we, the Germans, had and you, the Americans, didn't. Naturally, you wanted to know all about it." End of quote. Despite his use of brutal slave labor to fulfill production targets for his work in Germany, there was no guilt or remorse about von Braun, and he seemed to act like a celebrity rather than a prisoner. Another field of interest was that of chemical weapons. in which American analysts quickly realized they were far behind Germany. Indeed, if the war had descended to full-scale chemical attacks, it would have been vastly one-sided in Germany's favor. In the summer of 1945, one Dr. Gerhard Schrader was captured by the Americans along with hundreds of other German chemists and brought to Kranzberg Castle in Hesse for interrogation. It turned out that he was the creator, albeit accidental, of a devastating new nerve gas known as Tabun, the precursor of deadly gases such as the now infamous sarin variant. He had been working for an insecticide laboratory of IG Farben in Leverkusen, attempting to develop a pesticide to kill weevils and leaf lice. But after synthesizing a cyanide-containing fumigant, codenamed Preparation 9/91, Schrader realized it was massively lethal and couldn't be used as a pesticide, much to his own sorrow. However, the Third Reich's Chemical Weapons Department saw a more destructive use for the new substance, and after a kilogram of it was produced for the German army, it was given the name Tabun. As Operation Paperclip progressed, the US, quote-unquote, imported an expert in Tabun synthesis named Dr. Friedrich Hoffmann. Hoffmann immediately began producing potential chemical weapons for the Americans. Interestingly, Hoffmann was an anti-Nazi through the war and had been issued an affidavit confirming such. Moreover, his father had risked his life spying for the Americans, highlighting the diverse range of personalities from ardent war criminals to innocent, gifted scientists that Operation Paperclip targeted. So, how did the Allies, specifically the United States, acquire Nazi data and even the scientists themselves? By the fall of 1944, the Allied powers had a solid foothold on the European continent. But it was events taking place in Washington, D.C., which would eventually initiate Operation Paperclip. Colonel Jervis William Treichel was made first chief of the newly created Rocket Branch inside U.S. Army Ordnance, putting together a group of scientists which would be sent to Europe as part of, quote, Special Mission V2. The United States and Treichel, knowing it was 20 years behind Germany in rocket development, saw an opportunity to close the gap swiftly and save the US millions of research dollars in the process. This wasn't the only effort to secure German science for US use, and many other departments of the military and intelligence services did similar things. It was generally believed among these circles that recruiting Nazi scientists was the lesser of two evils, as the Soviets would definitely try to get their hands on the Germans if they didn't. A prime example of this was Dr. Eugen Hagen, a virus expert specialized in creating vaccines, but also involved in the infamous human medical experiments of Hitler's doctors. After being captured by the Americans initially, the man fled to the Soviet-controlled zone after the war was done and worked for them. So, rather unsurprisingly, not all elements of American society approved of the utilization of Nazi scientists. The operation came into public knowledge when the New York Times reported on Nazis living in America under a secret military program. That story, and others that followed, generated a flurry of condemnation among many interest groups and the general public. Journalist and foreign affairs correspondent Joachim Josten, writing in The Nation, said provocatively, quote, "If you enjoy mass murder, but also treasure your skin, be a scientist, son. It's the only way nowadays of getting away with murder," end quote. Clearly strong words, and stronger condemnation. Prominent political figures in America also protested against the employment of German scientists. This included the wife of the late President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Eleanor Roosevelt, who petitioned the US government to suspend visas for all Germans for 12 years. As we know, however, these objections and condemnations did not really affect Operation Paperclip in any overly negative way. This was most clearly evidenced in the case of Wernher von Braun. He was eventually to become the primary NASA architect behind the US space program's Saturn V vehicle, the key factor in getting to the moon, one of the most singularly remarkable achievements in American history. Rightly or wrongly, over 1,600 scientists were brought to the West and put to work by means of Operation Paperclip. Only one of those men was ever tried for crimes committed under the Nazi regime, but he was never found guilty. Paperclip remains one of the more controversial plans in the early Cold War, seeming to show just how great the threat of Soviet communism was perceived by those in power in the West, that they would almost immediately tie themselves to their former enemies to help confront their new foe. We here at the Cold War will continue to discuss the scientific programs developed from Paperclip and more in our future videos, so please make sure you're subscribed to our channel and have pressed the bell button. We rely on our patrons to create these videos, so consider supporting us via www.patreon.com/The Cold War. This is the Cold War channel.
Okay, so an overview there of project or Operation Paperclip. Now, obviously, that's the nice, fluffy story that they provide for that. But obviously, it was obviously a lot deeper than that, as we see there in verse 190. So we understand that obviously through the Tula Society and Madame Blavatsky, they Pleiadians wanted a singular point of contact for their own agenda here on the planet Earth, and chose obviously Adolf Hitler as their point person. Understood? This is why the Boys from Brazil project and others, remember, he was interested in obviously people with blonde hair and blue eyes, because this is when he had seen obviously all these extraterrestrials, that's what they look like to him. So that's to him what he perceived was the perfection, or what God looked like, even though himself was not blonde haired, blue eyed. Do you understand, in that regard? So, and around this time period, clearly 1945 is also the birth date of the master teacher. Was a lot of obviously extraterrestrial involvement, understood, and intervention here on the planet. None more so because obviously America dropped the atom bomb. Just bear with me one second. Let's just change these settings back. Yeah, America dropped the atom bomb, obviously on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now, obviously, what most don't know is that bomb, or that explosion, was perpetual. So what they didn't realize, what they'd unleashed, obviously those that type of explosion, that type of explosion will be perpetual. So it wouldn't stop in that regard. It would have kept expanding, understood, to the point where effectively it would have blown up the planet. Do you understand? Had there not been extraterrestrial intervention at that time to contain basically that explosion. So obviously the reckless behavior obviously of the US in dropping those bombs in that environment, and not really understanding the technology. So obviously extraterrestrials have given them that technology, E = mc squared, which is obviously attributed to Einstein, which instead of using it to maybe solve the energy problems on the planet at that point, and then thereafter they've used it obviously to create a weapon of mass destruction. And so obviously this caused a meeting that took place. As you know, there's a council that operates in the center of the planet in a city by the name of Shambhala. And so a meeting took place where they had to now intervene. So one of the obviously starting points was to obviously the birth of the master teacher on our side, an incarnation of the being now known today as Yaanuwn, obviously to stop obviously raise us up, obviously, but to stop the advancement clearly of these Caucasians, who through their recklessness would certainly destroy the planet, which obviously, as you are aware, is so old that the tablets describes it as the entity within the planet, who the Greeks refer to as Gaia, is so old it's not even worth referencing in relation to the age of human beings. You understand? So the planet needed to be protected. But what this highlights is that a number of deals that were being made, obviously across the planet with different governments, overstood in exchange, as it's described there, for certain technologies. So France, for example, you see with the advent of aeronautics, for example, and they were the ones who made Concorde, if people remember, that supersonic plane from the sort of 70s and 80s, now no longer in service. But the advancements in certain countries of certain technology was not necessarily just because of their own ingenuity, do you understand? But rather in exchange for, as I say, information in this race for domination or superiority or whatever on the planet. So America's Project Paperclip, as you can see, or being discussed there, was the transference of Germany obviously surrendering, but then transferring that relationship, that extraterrestrial relationship, to America. Understood? Where they would obviously then, seek to manage and make deals, with these groups of extraterrestrials in exchange, obviously, for information. Do you understand? Technology, obviously, to advance their position of power. Understood? And, were blacks involved in these conversations? Well, no, because we were in a state where we were the ones, I suppose, to point people of power having influence on the planet. Do you understand? So, as we were sort of, outside of the, coming out of the shackles and chains, still under the foot, or the foot of the white man's foot was still in our neck in many places around the world. And so he was in a position really to be involved in those, world influence in our conversation, so to speak. So this is important because this is the more hidden aspect of Project Paperclip, and this is why there was obviously some agreements to transferring obviously all these scientists, etc., over to America, because they would now have this direct relationship clearly with these extraterrestrials. But remember, human beings may have had their agenda, but the extraterrestrials obviously have got their own agenda. You understand? And so whether they may have thought arrogantly that they was in control, you're dealing with obviously forces with not only superior technology but superior knowledge of the universe, of the world, and the environments around them. So human beings, as a fairly youngish, and the Caucasians even younger, 6,000 years old, they're really ignorant about a lot of things that have taken place in the world and how it works, and I suppose the wider structures that are in place. That we deal country to country, we're not dealing planet to planet, you understand? Solar system to solar system, universes to universes, do you understand? Which are being dealt with, traded, you understand, on that type of level. So easy pickings, you understand, human beings, or the Adamites were for these superiorly minded extraterrestrials that they were seeking to be involved in. Let's continue. So 191. So no, President Obama does not know. He's only half of them by his mother. 192. They don't trust the black side of him because he married a black female, yet the Republicans still work with them and hate Obama for not working with the Mutananu, reptilians, races. Don't believe me, Nwapu, you understand, or Musbatu, Nwapians, check this all out. You understand? So this, as I say, important aspect of things that, as I say, why in the Master doing 135 stretch is because of unveiling or uncovering the extraterrestrial involvement in our culture. Do you understand? See, all this talk about gods and angels and all this nonsense, is when we're dealing with modern day thinking and what they're describing. They're talking about extraterrestrials and extraterrestrial involvement, clearly, in the development of various different species of human beings in the image and after the likeness, understood, of the very aliens who created them. Just like, as I say, we as human beings have gone into many parts of the world. I think I was watching a video the other day on YouTube. basketball player Shaq had some, I think, koi fish in some pond that they were renovating for him. And basically the koi fish with the different colors, etc., arise from human beings breeding these fish to create, species with, exotic colors that they obviously then, sell in various places, obviously around the world. So the point of the matter is that human beings are going to places, crossbreeding and creating new species, whether they're dealing with plant life, whether they're dealing with animal life, understood? So the idea that it's not done by beings with older knowledge who are traveling in an interplanetary sense and obviously traveling interdimensionally can't manipulate human beings in the same way human beings today manipulate plants and other different forms of life on this planet that they perceive themselves to be superior to. Understood? You feel, well, you can't be manipulated. Well, this is exactly what's happened. Exactly why there's so many different blood types. For example, AB, blood types A that we were learning about previously. The original people of this planet who had O had none of these markers in terms of protecting themselves against foreign against foreign invasion, because there was nobody else on the planet other than us. So what did we need to immunize ourselves against within the design? The environment was perfect and created perfect for our species. But obviously when others start coming along now into the equation, well, what was there? They were being designed off of the original. They didn't take the millions or billions into millions of years that it took to develop us from single cell amoebas, understood, into the complex life form clearly that we are today in the image and after likeness of our ancestors, the Parnatharan. Do you understand? So in that regard, and others have then taken this basic design clearly of the black woman or African female, and then obviously created beings in their image and after their likeness, species in the main and other subspecies, some or many of which, as the master teacher explained, are not around today. You understand? Originally 24 races, now there's only 3 primarily. Do you understand? Obviously you got Negroid, Mongoloid and Caucasoid. Do you understand? And you have sub-races within that arising from crossbreeding of races as people have mixed either deliberately or forcibly, you understand, which has created, as I say, new subspecies of human beings. So the idea, as I say, that this kind of extraterrestrial involvement is some kind of, as I say, foreign concept or idea. Well, it's always been there, depending on how you read the Bible with your mind's eye, not with the eyes of despair, and so the fooled eye, then we would have seen these things all along. And now all of a sudden, so now they're ready to reveal that which was obviously previously hidden. Do we get the credit now for, or does the master teacher get the credit for all of the things that were being unveiled over this 60-year period? Do you understand? Where some of the things being spoken about now were being revealed in the 80s. Do you understand? Or as far back as probably even further back than that, for certain scrolls and books. You understand? And obviously Supreme Mathematics series, where all these things were being uncovered, and you had key knowledge of this as a people. So where we would have been kept out of world advancing events, where we were not there at the forefront, this being has come along now, your teacher, to reinstill the culture of Wu-Sabat, the unifying culture of Wu-Sabat, to unify us mentally, and then the physical unity would follow, kept us and always has kept us at the forefront, 10 years oftentimes ahead of what was to take place, so we would be prepared, you understand, for these many changes that are taking place, which really is for us to almost get out of the way, because their time is expiring, do you understand, insofar as the hybrids that were created, with this RH negative blood type. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay, so it says they don't trust the black side of him because he married a black female. Yet the Republicans still work with them and hate Obama for not working with the Mutananu, reptilian races. Don't believe me? Battle on the weapons. Check this out. 193. They wish to get inside your daughters in your Yahasat genes, so their Jawad, wicked, evil, Matal sperm can Katul kill your bloodline. Just as in the Raham womb of a Mudatat mother, once of the millions of sperm is ejaculated into the garden in enclosure, Paraham, the womb, the race starts. Yeah, each sperm with Manan semen, races to get to the oven to bake the loaf of bread of life, tata, bread. Only the strongest Matal sperm, Sakaf cell, makes it, the others die off. You understand? So let's explore that in a little bit more detail. So I'm going to drop a class in by the master teacher, about 44 minutes thereabouts. You understand? In the middle of it is where really you need to focus your attention on understanding, as I say, this the chaotic waters. You understand? Because a lot of stories and a lot of our records and a lot of symbolism is based around this activity. Do you understand? And if you can internalize it, you understand it from Wu-Sabat point of view and see through it, you're going to see through the a lot of ways stories have been captured around the world, which, as I say, some people believe are real, but are just, as I say, mythology out of an event, as I say, that happened in ancient Egypt some time ago, which has replicated itself over and over again. You understand? So the class called The Devil is a Reptilian, So Are You. Take a listen and, as I say, make notes. If you've got any questions after that, we'll take them and answer them accordingly. Okay, so spare with me 1 second. Let's get that up. While I'm doing that, listen to some nice background music. Art. Any questions before I start this?
No questions.
The Quran says, when you are in doubt, go back to those before you. Go home. All you people. Not black, not white, not purple, not green, all of you children. Your roots are there. And God told them, take my boy, my only son, as they would, and take him down and sojourn in Egypt until this mischief maker Herod is dead. He sent him to Egypt for protection. Sent Jesus to Egypt. He didn't send Jesus to Babylon. He didn't send Jesus to China. He didn't send Jesus to Australia. He sent Jesus to Egypt. He also said, O children of Israel, go down out of the land of Canaan into the land of Egypt until the famine passes. And all the Israelites jumped up and migrated straight into Egypt until the famine passed. And Joseph was there. And Joseph's brothers came. And the 12 brothers assembled. And Joseph tried to tell them that the 12 brothers represented the 12 stars. And that represented the signs of the zodiac, which takes us back to the temple of Pandora, of the deity Hathor. Not Hathor. Hathor. Meaning the what? The house of Hor, light. Who is that? Horu? Horus. Who? The horizon, when the sun comes up in the morning. You follow? These were all symbolic rituals. In answer to your question, because I'm long-winded, is that yes, this Bible is nothing but Egyptian mysteries. Moses received what they call a portion of the negative confession, which made up the Psalms of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. He was given 613 commandments, not 10. You do not believe it. Get on the phone and call any synagogue. Forget asking Christian ministers. If you want to ask somebody about the Bible, ask a Jew who reads Hebrew. Not a Christian who only reads English. Call them and ask, how many original commandments was there? And they'll tell you 613. And the reason why you know there wasn't 10 commandments is because all 10 commandments is registered here in Exodus. Correct? And this is the Bible from cover to cover. Am I still correct? Well, then how did Adam and Eve violate one of God's commandments in the garden if there was no commandments yet? If that was only 10 commandments, that where does the 11th commandment when God said you violated my commandments, so I'm putting you out of the garden? Where did that come from? And ask a Jew, they'll tell you 613 commandments. And those are the 613 negative confessions of the priest called Sem. Now notice the name. In ancient Egypt called Tamare. That's what Egypt was called. Not Mitzrayim, not Mus. Tamare. Mitzrayim is a name for one of the sons from Noah's descendants, who migrated over there. Mitzrayim, that's how they got there. Now the Arabs said Misr. Right? Tamare is the name of the people. The only one they identify with out of that seed is Ham. And they call the place Kemet, or Chem, from where they get the word chemistry. All of this is the Egyptian mysteries. All the lodges, all the Freemasons, Shriners, Knights of Columbus, all the mystical orders always end up in Egypt. After the Eastern Stars finish mastering the science of the 5 most noble ladies, they end up the daughters of Isis. And they don't even say the name right. They say Isis. They use the Greek rendering something. Okay? Yeah, go ahead.
I want to know who picks you while their name on your one stand.
Well, what happens is, right, there's people there that chose names for you. They have list of names, a spiritual name. Just like, let me make this clear, just like if you went into a Catholic church, do you know that people in the Catholic church have a spiritual name also? But when we do it, and we call ourselves Amhotep, why are they changing their name? It's because, again for knowledge, in ancient Egypt, everybody, every pharaoh, every person had 2 names. They had a name for their soul and a name for their body. Everybody knew their name for their body, but they kept their sacred name for their soul. And only the high priest called Sem, which I was getting to, where they get the word Semitic from the Egyptian word for priesthood, Sem. Look it up, right? Those priests knew the sacred name. They knew your name. And that's why they have naming ceremonies in the Bible on the 8th day, and the priest would whisper the baby's name in their ear, and then have an affirmation called Shema Yisrael in Hebrew, where they would say Adonai Elohim, Adonai Echad. The Hebrew stem was Elohim, or Elohim, the Lord, Elohim is Echad, one God. The same way the Muslims say Shadu la ilaha illallah. And they say, I stand witness to Allah, He is the Lord, He alone has no partner. And then they whispered the child's name in their ear. The secret name was always kept secret. Now, God has secret names also. And only the Kohen or high priest of the Kabbalah who put together a book that had a formula that told them God's secret name. And because they weren't allowed to use God's name, they started using 4 symbolic letters. The hand of life, which is Yad, Hey, Wav, Hey. Hey, because there's 2 forms of Hey in the Bible. One is Hey with 1 yard, and the other is Hey with 2 yards, right in Hebrew, in Genesis. The one with Hey with 1 yard, letter yard on it, is strictly for living things. But when it speaks of the creation of human beings in the image of God, you have Hay Yad Yad Yahay, which means a divine spirit. In other words, the double yard is supposed to represent the 2 hands of God's involvement. You follow? So in ancient Hebrew and ancient where they got from ancient Egypt, there was a secret name, and even God's secret name. Isis needed to get the secret name from Ra. So she was not allowed to get the sacred name. You got that? All right. So she had to figure out a way to get it from him. So what she did is she took the snake. You got that? And she shot a snake at Ra, and it bit him on his ankle and placed the venom in his leg. You know, bit him on his heel. You got that in the Bible, Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, on the heel. Right? And Ra fell weak. And the only one that had the serum from the serum to cure him was Isis. And all she was concerned with was the secret so that she could bring back Osiris to life, who had been killed when the sun set by Set, his brother, when the sun, Ra, went down. Are you with me? All right, now you ask for it. You want to get into mysteries? I'll talk mystery language. All right, now so what happened is, once he got to the point where he was at his last breath, his last bar, because each pharaoh had a number of bars. I have 9 bars, and he had 16 bars, or 14 bars, or 12 bars, not bar like a bar. They call bars of spirits. 9 spirits. 2 Corinthians chapter 15 talks about those spirits. The 9 spirits. Spirit of tongue, the spirit of concerning, they're there. That came out of ancient Jerusalem. When he was at his last bar or breath, and he saw that the word would die with him, he pulled her close to him, and he whispered in her ear that name, and said, don't tell nobody. And then Isis then had the power and ruled. And then she went and sought out the 14 bars of Osiris. Because remember, Cyrus was symbolically cut up into 14 parts. Now, if you count the 14 parts, or the extensions of the body, you'll find it. You'll find that the head is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, where the apron sits. Right? So when he was resurrected, she said, I fixed up a ben-ben, which is an obelisk needle or a phallic symbol, which became the minaret of Islam, which is numbered an erected penis, or the cathedral in Christianity or Judaism, and that's the erected penis. She mounted him symbolically and brought him back to life through her son, Hero, or Horizon, the sun that once set in the west was now rising in the east. And so in Christianity they say, as the sun cometh out of the east, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. All Muslims turn to the east and pray. All Jews go to the east where the sun will be rising. So you have to have 2 names there, the apparent name and the secret name. And if you tell them your real name, which is an Egyptian name, then an ark or a bark is prepared for you. And you take this journey. Listen, for all you people looking for me to make a mistake, this is symbolic. Don't say, he's ready to get on a boat and go to heaven. It's not the same. It's all symbolism. It's the same thing like the rapture, the crystal city in Revelation 21 coming to get you, or the, what's his name? Elijah going up on a golden chariot, or the ancient Egyptians believe in a bark, and they believe your soul, your spirit went on this bark, and you travel through the underworld. The underworld was no more than the nighttime. It meant that the sun went down, and they didn't have lights, fluorescent or incandescent. When God existed before the light, everything was in supreme balance. It's only after the light that the confusion started. Light blinds. I keep trying to get this to your head. But darkness does not blind. This has nothing to do with race. I ain't talking about black people. I ain't stop standing yourself, nigga. Light, the beam of a light blinds a person. Darkness doesn't. When you go home and want to go to sleep and you want peace of mind, when you feel groovy or romantic, you dim the lights. You go to the beach as the sun sets and the moonlight, and you become Roman or romantic. All right? Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah, the book of Psalms means let's sit around and sing. That's all it means. Let's sing the stories of the prophet. Look at this, Psalm. I'm gonna give you one. Here's a nice one. Psalm. Let's sing the song, okay? Don't think I'm gonna sing. I'm not gonna sing. I ain't making fun of me. Let's sing. Psalm 22. It starts off. Psalm 22. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from helping me? Who is this? Well, I thought Jesus on the cross in Matthew 27 said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. What is it doing in Psalms 1,000 years before Jesus was born? And Jesus made reference to the book of Psalms. You see, symbolically, a man named Joseph, or Josephus, Flavorus, wrote a play about the story of David's crucifixion. And it became known as the story of Jesus Christ. You brought up this was David's crucifixion. David is the one who said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? No Jesus ever was on any cross ever saying that. If you read the whole chapter, you know what you come down? Watch. Verse 18. They part my garments amongst them, and they cast lots upon my vesture. That's also in Matthew. They gave him, I asked for water, they gave me vinegar. I just keep on reading. This is the story of your Matthews. It's supposed to be of Jesus' crucifixion, but it's in the book of Psalms. A book that preceded Jesus. They describe the crucifixion. It says they nailed my hands and my feet right here. Guess what? That's wrong. Because if I nailed your hands and feet with your body weight, you could not hang on a cross. That's another Bible error. That's right. Rip your flesh. Here's one I put aside for y'all. This is really funny. Samuel's Bible people, open up them books. Let's do this. This is going to be fun. This is out the Bible. It's 1 Samuel chapter 6. You with me? I'll read. And the ark of the Lord, and the word Yahweh is used there, was in the country of the Philistines for 7 months. They're speaking about the ark. It was amongst the Philistines that stole it from the children of Israel, and they held it for 7 months. And the Philistines called for the priests. They used kohen, the Hebrew word for priests. And the divination, but it's not divination, it's when he refers to a person. Yeah. All right, now we're going on to the next one. Saying, what shall we do with the ark of the Lord? At this point, they don't have the word Yahweh, though your Bible has the word Lord. They have set him, which is a tyrant ruler. You follow that? But in your Bible, Lord is still there. So if you didn't know this, if you didn't look it up with the Logos Bible or Swimming Program, you wouldn't know that they switch words on you. You'll think they're still talking about God. But notice they say, tell us wherewith we shall send it to place. Where should we? We had it for 7 months. We don't want it no more. Just tell us where to send it. Okay? Verse 3. And they said, if we send the ark away of the God of Israel, they have Elohim there, send it not empty. If we send the ark back to them, the Philistines said, let's don't send it empty. Let's see what they're going to do. But in any wise, return him to trespass, offering them to trespass. In other words, anyway, let's send it back so impose upon them. Return to trespass, offering them, then ye shall be healed. Now they have to be healed of something. When something happened to them, because they took the ark and held it for 7 months, they said, where should we send this thing? They said, well, if we do send it, let's make sure we send it with something in it. And they said, well, how do we send it? Let's send it so we can get healed or whatever God did to us for stealing it. All right? And it shall be known to you why his hand is not removed from you. Meaning if you don't do it, you're going to still have this affliction. Now, number 4 gets into it. The word is tekfor in Hebrew. Tekfor. Then they said, what shall we trespass offering which we shall return to him? How shall we do it? They answered, 5 golden emerods. They said, let's put 5 golden emerods inside the Ark of the Covenant. Okay? And 5 golden mice or rats, according to the number of the Lord, which is 10 to them for some reason, because of the hand being the 10th letter in the Hebrew alphabet for Yod. All right? Of the Philistines, for the plague was on you all and on your Lord, which is not Yahweh but Satan. So what I did, I said, like you by saying, what the hell is an emerald? Right? So I looked it up in ancient Hebrew, and I found the word tekfor. It means hemorrhoids. Don't believe me, go check it out. The Philistines, God gave the Philistines hemorrhoids for stealing it. The Ark of the Covenant. And they said, if we return it, the hemorrhoids will go away. But we're not going to return it empty. We're going to go place the hemorrhoids and put it inside the Ark of the Covenant and send it back with 5 golden rats and 5 sets of golden hemorrhoids. It's in the Bible. That story is in the Bible. Now, how ridiculous is that? Every week we do one of these, right? Y'all look up the other ones about boiling your children and eating them? Isn't that amazing? The Bible tells people boil your children and eat them. It's like we'll boil mine today and yours tomorrow. It's right in the Bible. Pick up poisonous snakes and eat them. I mean, let them bite you. And drink poison and see if you'll die. It's in your body. Go ahead, somebody got a question. Okay, go ahead, brother.
How can you prove that at one course of time in history, women were able to reproduce asexually?
Because they still do it. It's called a daughter cell. And you know that most breeds of reptilians can produce asexual, and human beings are reptilian. Did you know that? Well, let me explain why we're reptilians, and you know why. It's, first of all, if you want to look the word up, you can find it in your computer under bulbal, B-U-L, gland, bulbal gland. You can research it, and you'll find out. See, we men are having a hard time accepting that y'all really are gods. We've been, under religion, we've been taught that Adam was a man, and woman was taken out of one of his ribs. Now, you go to any x-ray room, and get any man x-ray, and you'll find the man has all of his ribs. Either grew back, or that's full. You know what I'm saying? Women are our gods. Mitochondrial DNA, look it up. Mitochondrial DNA will tell you that women preceded man. The bulbal gland means that the women that had, especially amongst the Amazons, can have children without men. Women become pregnant without sex. It's recorded throughout history, and women have been beheaded, burned on stakes because they call them whores, which goes back to the word whore again, Horus, fire, sun, burn. They just spell it differently, phonetics. They were killed because they turned up pregnant and had no man, and could not explain it back then. But now, it's a verified, it's called a bulbal gland. Do some research and find out that women are gods. Change the whole system, because the way we're running things is wrong anyway. We ain't succeeding as men in running the world. Maybe if the mother was running the world and not the father, the world would be a damn better place. That's the damn truth. Now, about the brother and reptilian. You got that down? You can research it? When your father ejaculates, what does he ejaculate? Sperm, which is called, say it again. Listen close. Now you can alter the spelling, but the phonetics will stay the same. And what's there is a male or a female X or XY chromosome that goes into what they call primordial waters, the turmoil in the woman's womb while in triple darkness, the 3 stages for 9. That sperm gets in there and chaos is there as all of us race to the ovum. Now, if you never won anything in your life, let me tell you something, Junior. Your ass won the first race you ever won, or you wouldn't be sitting there. You beat the hell out of a million other sperm cells. You cheated. You took shortcuts. You tricked people. But your ass got born. You understand? If you don't think you ever won anything, remember, you won the first race in your life. You beat all your brothers and sisters to get to the ovum in the mother. That's called, in ancient Egypt, that chaotic waters that Ra was born in through the egg that Ra was in. The egg that Ra was in is called the sac. As I explained many times before, a woman has an egg in her body called a sac. When a hen lays the egg and it gets into the air, it's soft. The moment the air hits it, it's hard and forms the shell. You follow? Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. And serpents are not beasts of fields. Reptilians are not beasts of fields. Those are 2 different animals. They were talking about a human snake, a talking human snake. One with gills. Now, what human snake you know has gills? You do. You lived in the womb as a tadpole. You had a tail. Look it up. You swim. Right? You breathed in a water sac, which means you had, hello? You still, I'm going to do the old hand trick, you know it. Give me the hand, everybody. Give me the hand, go. Come on, both of you in this hand, don't cheat now. Put the hand up, bro. Now part them fingers. And look at them webs between your fingers. Your webs are short now, but everybody got webs between their fingers and toes. We think about vacationing near the beach. If I threw sea salt in your eyes right now, you would have a fit. But I will dive into salt water and open my eyes and they don't burn. Why? Adaptability. Recognition, our genes get a chance to recalibrate themselves for an environment I once lived in. Water. You saw the movie The Abyss? All right. What else? Oh yeah, we can. We can breathe underwater. Yes, sir, you have to learn how to do it. And scientists are doing it now in Russia. They're taking babies and they're being born underwater. And then babies are able to stay underwater sometimes for up to 15 minutes before they come up. Human beings. And if they born your ass in water, I learned how to swim that way. You know, I had one of those kind of fathers who took me out and said, and took the boat back. I had one or the other choice. Swim or drown. Obviously, I learned how to swim because I'm here. Otherwise, one of my relatives would be telling a story about my ass. Let's move to the next level. Human beings has gills, has webs, has claws, close down the manicures. Oh, where the nail clippers? And let's see what your fingers would look like in a year. You'd have claws that curve down like this. And some women walk around proudly with nails this long, painted red, typing. Showing that man, because the whole purpose of claws is to rip something, unless when it comes to me and you. When I see a lion's claw or a lion's paw, I go, oh. My own cat can scratch me. I'm ready to kick his ass. Cut all his little nails and all. You don't scratch nobody. Like them poor lions in Las Vegas, they got no claws, they're all drugged up with no teeth. But anyway, keep it serious. We have claws. You understand what I'm saying? Now, what else do we have? We have hair on our body now. Do you know the hippopotamus used to have hair? Did you know that whales used to have hair? Do you know that elephants used to have hair? All other animals used to have hair, but they're older than you, and they have what? Mutated away. You're mutating away too. You go to China, you find out most Chinese don't have hair on their body. You go to Africa, you find out most Africans don't have hair on their body. So now, Mr. Black Man, nigger man, why you got all that hair on you? If you so African. We have scales. Not only do we have gills, canine teeth with their fangs, and claws, we also have scales. Look at your hand. Now, right now, it's hot and moist in here. When the season changes and it gets dry, you got to put on a little Avons, a little cameo, otherwise you start getting this rash or ash, which you can scrape off or scrape your head like this here, and you say they call it dandruff, the scales coming off yourself. The same way you skin a damn fish. That's dead tissue that you can put under a microscope, and it's a scale. So you got webs, claws, fangs, gills, and scales, and a tail. At the end of your spinal column is a thing called a coccyx that extends about an inch. It's the remains of the tail you had. Hello? And if your mama didn't say, boy, sit up straight. Your mother didn't keep saying, sit up, I'm gonna talk to you. They didn't keep telling you, boy, sit up straight. All your life, you be sitting like this, remember, sit up straight. Right? Sit up straight. You know why? Because you be walking like this. The way Snoop Dogg and them walk naturally. Now put yourself in this posture with your fangs and your scales and your claws and your gills and your tail and your webs. You are the creature from the Black Lagoon. You are a reptilian. You are breathing an atmosphere that has water in it. You jump in the tub or the shower every day. You must drink a certain amount of water like every other fish, or you will dehydrate and die. You are the serpent in the Bible. Human beings. Whether you like it or not. Preacher ain't going to tell you that because the preacher wants to act like a human being is not an animal. If you don't think you're an animal, ask a chicken. Well, ask a chicken. Chicken feels about you the way you feel about lions. Right or wrong? How do you think cows feel? Let's talk about the cows. Because the religious books in the Quran, the Surah Al-Baqarah, make the cow noble. The children of Israel built a cow and crap. Cows. You take and separate the male from the female, put all the women in the field by themselves, milk them, and then turn them into filet mignon. Periodically, you bring a male over, a bull, for him to have, in order to impregnate her, to breed more. It's a hell of a thing to do for a creature. Take them away from their natural mate for their whole life. Put them out in the field by themselves, a bunch of grumpy-ass women. That's why they're right here. Move! Oh, y'all not there? Y'all not there saying move? Move! Move! You ain't no man. Move! You ain't no man. Move! You understand what I'm saying, brother man? We don't like to face the reality that we are carnivorous, blood-thirsty animals. How do you want that steak? Medium rare. Give me a red wine with it because I need to blood that. Wow. That's what you do. What do you think when you ask for a soft scrambled egg, or a poached egg, or a sunny side up egg? What animal goes around eating, or what other creature goes around eating the eggs of other creatures but reptilians? So when you ask for that sunny side up because you want that yolk, you want to taste that yolk in there, you just ate a raw egg. Some man go out there, crack, put it in a jar, put a little brandy in it, squeeze a lemon on it. Ooh. Give me a little more spunk. I just ate an egg, a raw egg like other snakes do. I don't know if you want to know the truth about yourself or you want to know what's the fact. But I'm going to tell you, these are what they call the best kept secrets, best kept secret. Because scientists don't want to tell you the side of the story. But when you start analyzing the human anatomy, you find out human beings are reptilians. They cause mammals. Snakes also have hips. Did you know that? Whales walked the land before they went to the sea. You are in between a monkey and a dinosaur. You are evoluting from genus homo, which is a nice word, into homo erectus, which is an even nicer word. And then there was an intervention from superior-minded beings, genetically spliced you, and leaped from homo erectus to homo sapiens by them putting a portion of themselves in you, called in your Bible, I breathed into you of my spirit, and you became a living soul. I made you in the image and after the likeness of myself. We created man. Let us make man. These beings, called Elohims in here, or Neteru in Samaria, or Neteru in ancient Egypt, or that's the Nephilims, or Anunnaki. These beings, these God-like beings who came from beyond the stars, not so far that we can't find them in here, because every time they say heaven in the New Testament, they use the word Orion. The Greek word for heaven is Orionus. And Jesus said, our Father who is in Orion, the star constellation, based on those three pyramids, or that triad of Kepri. The same science is out there in Egypt is the Trinity, the three pyramids, and the three stars of the Orion belt. Jesus said, my Father lived in there. In my Father's house there are many mansions. Talking about the signs of the zodiac and that specific symbol called solstice. And on the tip end of solstice goes into the 19th galaxy, which is Sirius star constellation, which has three suns, one collapsed. Sirius A, B, and C. One collapsed, now has two suns. You find it on the chart of Yaanuwn in the upper corner as 7. Yaanuwn is a part of the Sirius star constellation, or better yet, Sirius is a part of Yaanuwn, the 19th galaxy. It's not a mythological place. It has been logged. And the Dogons acknowledge it. The Egyptians acknowledge it. The Sumerians acknowledge it. The Aztecs acknowledge it. The Hopi acknowledge it. The ancient Shang dynasty acknowledge it. And you with a 400-year culture and brand new dictionary don't have it here, so I'm crazy. You hear me? A lot of us scientists are coming forth with this information. They do everything in their power to keep this information from you because it defeats their biblical belief. And they need you believing. They don't need you with facts. They need you believing because as long as they can keep you believing, whatever they want you to believe, they can make you believe. And you're put in a position where they tell you, you'll find out when you die. That's so damn convenient. Wait until you die, and then you'll meet Jesus. Wait until you die, and then you'll go to heaven and see Allah. What happens when I'm dead and I find out it's not true? So I'm standing there, I'm dead, and it ain't true. It's just wrong. A whole life praying 5 times a day or going to church to mass, and now I find out it's not true. What you gonna do with it? You're supposed to spend your life as a scientist, investigating anything anybody tells you or teaches you. And I want to make it clear, I am not asking any Nawapian to believe in UFOs because I have seen them. I teach and I make it clear, if you haven't seen them, don't believe me. Do your own investigation. Find out on your own. I want to know. I investigate. I find out that's true to me. That doesn't mean it's true to you. If you don't believe 144,000 people are getting out here, and I did not say And it really bothers me when they do that. You know, on May 5th, 2000, crafts are coming to get us out of here. I didn't say that. I said there's going to be a planet alignment May 5th, 2000, and you can find that other than me. I'm not no pioneer of that thought. I'm not the only guy. I'm the genius like it's my thought. Guess what? People all over the world are talking about it. Scientists and astronomers are talking about this alignment. If you miss that, there's your problem. I didn't say on year 2003, crafts are coming to take 144,000 people. I didn't say that. They need these things because they need me to say, I'm not dumb. They need me to say on March 12th, 2,000 ships are coming. So on March 13th, they go, see, we told you. I'm not just joking. We're not falling for that. I know, I feel, and I know that something is going to happen. Now, why is it when Christians say it's okay? They say a rapture is going to happen. Jesus is going to come. When the Mohammedans say it. Nation of Islam said Master Prophet Muhammad left and said he's coming back. So that's cool. Now I say it, and everybody, how do you know? I feel it. Well, I mean, that's no verification for me. Right. Because you didn't feel it. So don't believe it. And if I just happen to leave, don't believe it. If 144,000 was disappeared, and you're left here, it's best for you not to believe it. Especially at that point, because your ass didn't make it. Look around the room. Look at people's ears. Some people got holes in their ear. I don't mean this hole here. Well, everybody got holes in it. There's other people, everybody got holes in here. I don't mind pairs 2 days ago. Holes in their ears right here. Anybody got holes in their ears? Raise your hand. I'm one of them. Some people have one hole. Some people have 2 holes. Why do we have holes in our ears and you don't? God created you and God created me. Why do I have this little hole in my ear and you don't? And why can't doctors tell you what it is? And it drains. Right? All of us who got it know it drains. Why don't you have it? 144,000 people got it. Something to worry about, huh? See how I made a religion? I made a religion that quick with people with holes in their ears. We getting out of here and y'all are not. See how they fight? That's called belief. That's how belief systems work. That's how crazy leaders come up. And everybody with holes in their ears is like, with him. Other people going, let them go home and start giving me a pin and say, oh, I was being that line and shit. That's how it works. And that's the stuff that got to stop. You got to check. You know what I'm saying? Brothers say, man, we were all once Muslims. Prove it. We was all, Jesus was black. Prove it. First of all, you got to prove there was a Jesus. See, the game is for you to start saying he's black. Because when you start saying he's black, you've already said he existed. And you don't have there's no Judaic records of him ever existed, not even in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Qumran tablet. First prove a man called Jesus existed 2,000 years ago, then we'll start worrying about what race he was. You already went to what race he is before you are. I read inside here, it said he was land rule, birth wrath. Isn't that convenient? That was getting here 2,000 years ago. That's to make you get caught up on your prejudiced beliefs. You so busy wanting him to be black, you made him exist. Your first research should be, was there a Jesus? Did he exist? And if you found out that he was an Eskimo, would it make a difference? If Jesus was an Eskimo, would it matter? If he was coming to save your scrawny ass? Do you know that people on the planet it matters to? They're so caught up on themselves that it actually matters what race he is? I'm going to tell you this. Jesus comes every day. Hold that thought, right? See that stage over there, that yellow stage? Y'all looking at it? God is standing right on that stage. Look hard. Come on, y'all. Look hard. See him? Now, who don't believe God is standing there? Raise your hand. Come on, like me. Who don't believe God is there? Come on. mountains and jumping out of planes and all kinds. God is catching. God moves the way He wants to move, when He wants to move. God is partial. He ain't partial to race, because you can be black, Muslim, bow tie, clean shaven with a Holy Quran and a Turkish flag in your hand, and you get in a car accident and your ass fly through that windshield, and you laying on that concrete getting ready to die, and up come a bunch of white doctors with white suits on. They look down at you and they say, you gonna say, Salam alaikum. You the devil. Let me die. Right? Hell no. Throw that flag and Quran away, pop off that bow tie, and say, thank you, Jesus. Put me back together. That's reality. Must we get to that point before we start learning to love and respect one another? Must it get that bad? Or like Reagan said, must we be invaded by extraterrestrials, little green men, before we realize that black, brown, yellow, and red don't make no difference? Must it get that bad? Because that's what you're asking. If you're laying on that street dying, you don't care who gives you mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Remember I said God has choice? But if you're the person standing up and you look down and someone's laying there dying with some foam coming out their mouth and you don't know them, like it's there. I want to help you, but you got to get them foam around your mouth. Because death could get a good day here. I'll be down there trying to give you mouth-to-mouth resuscitation and death grab my ass. You got to straighten it up a little bit before I put my mouth on your mouth. In that case, because you're standing up, looking down, you're a prejudiced that still can live. But when you're on your back, looking up, you forget all about race, creed, or color. You don't care whether it's a Muslim, or Jew, or Buddhist, or a person could be standing there with an inverted pentagram on saying, I love Satan. You say, me too. Mouth to mouth. You wouldn't give a damn what they believe, but they can save your life. Right or wrong? Does it have to get that bad, y'all? Can't some group of people or some generation of people break it down? Y'all understand what I'm trying to reach? There's a lot of dogma, there's a lot of doctrine out there. Everybody's right. The Nuwapians, we're not claiming to be right. We're claiming to investigate everything you say is right. And we just don't understand why that bothers you if you feel you're right. If you're sure what you believe in is true, why does it bother you that I ask you questions?
Okay, so that was the class from Devil. The devil is a reptile, so are you. So some interesting concepts. Shout out to the master teacher. Excellent class in that regard. And obviously within there you saw, or you heard, excuse me, obviously the story of Isis and Ra. And obviously we were speaking about prior to playing this, obviously we were looking at the issue, obviously, the sperm entering the ovum, for those who just joined us. So we're looking at sperm joining the ovum, obviously, into the canal of the woman, and it creating, obviously, this chaotic waters, as it referred to in ancient Egypt. Now, very interesting quote here. It says, enter ye at the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go thereat. You understand? So for those who have the eyes to see. So not everything the way it's written, unless you are sort of sitting there and understand what the author was thinking when they wrote these things, there's a lot of obviously double meanings, hidden messages, etc. in what we're looking at. Understood? Now, interesting enough, when you look in the Sumerian doctrine, one of the principal characters, isn't it? You've got out there, one of the two brothers, his name is Enki. You understand? Enki, ruler of the earth. Understood? But one of his names was Ea. You understand? So in the way write it, also I suppose an English transliteration would be E.A. EA, and it means he whose house is water. Yeah, he whose house is water. Obviously, understood? And we understand that Enki or EA, you understand, or Nurimud, as his proper name, mixed in with us, obviously, as the Sands people in South Africa. You understand? This is how we got, as obviously, the Sands people, this is how we were crossbred or got Anunnaki genes inside of us, because Inky mixed in, obviously, with those Sands people, as you see from the ruins in Absu in South Africa in that location. Obviously, having found out about us from Alelu, who was obviously in South America, positioned at the time. So we have obviously these various different stories or records, let's say, that are conveying this journey, let's say, of the sea men. Now, one of the things that's important for you to understand in relation to that is the fact that there's an incompatibility issue, and in fact, in the Holy Tablets, in the 5th chapter, the verse eludes me for the moment, but in the 5th chapter, it describes the relationship between men and women, or how we procreate, for example, as a form of artificial insemination. Understood? And so what you understand, for example, is that, the relationship between those sperm obviously entering into the woman and her own immune system obviously reacting. Now, this is an article of an experiment that took place in 2011. And there's different theories around this, but if you think about the concept of stillbirth, for example, this is precisely related to those incompatibility problems, which have been overcome by technological application to the replication, do you understand, or recreation process, you understand, between males and females. So this is describing an experiment that took place of exactly this issue. So if the woman is lacking in a certain enzyme, for example, what happens, it can allow a certain of our antibodies, so the amniotic sac, obviously, that was being described in that class, is what protects the baby, obviously, from the woman's own immune system. However, if she's lacking in this certain enzyme, it can allow some of her antibodies into the baby's bloodstream. Do you understand? And if too many get in to the baby's bloodstream, then a sad fact is that what you can have post-birth is those antibodies will attack, obviously, the baby and eventually cause the baby to die. Do you understand? Because, obviously, of the birthing process and this competition or competing, or there's an adverse relationship between the male and women, because the male sperm does not obviously match or mimic the woman's immune system. So this is why, obviously, you've got a certain type of recreation or birthing process, do you understand, that takes place between men and women, which is obviously fraught with risk, you understand, and danger in that regard, versus, for example, if the woman obviously procreates by fertilizing her own eggs through the, I think it was talking class as the bulbo gland. There's 2 glands either side of the vaginal orifice, which used to, and still do in some women, obviously fertilize her own eggs, which obviously produces another female child, but not a male child, because she doesn't have the defective Y chromosome in that regard. So this is showing a technological approach or application by master geneticists, obviously, who understand, the rules, these kind of fertility rules, the rules of nature, and obviously the rules of these relationships and how they can be applied, I suppose, and worked around in order for us to get to a position where we're able to procreate, and in this context, using males and females. Understood? So you see these things in nature, which obviously smacks of a technological approach that has been used. And so somebody having a scientist understanding the various different processes, understand the rules of nature and how they work, and then applying an approach that works within the rules. Very similar to, if you think about it, when a person sneezes, and in some cultures they'll say Alhamdulillah, for example, in the Islamic degree, or people in the West tend to say bless you. Understood? And this is the fact that when you sneeze, what is the thing of sneezing? Well, something's entered into your system, correct? Yeah, that's obviously then triggered your immune system. Do you understand? Now, what happens when a person sneezes? Your heart stops. Understood? Yeah, so effectively you effectively die, and then you are, for lack of a better word, you're restarted or you're resurrected almost. Do you understand? Now, obviously what's happening there is something foreign's entered your system. Do you understand? But when you sneezed, you expelled it out of your system. But because this foreign thing entered into your system, your immune system is already triggered to act. Understood? And it doesn't have the kind of nuances or subtleties to know whether something is good or bad, etc. What it knows is something foreign's in, seek and destroy, or take this thing out. You understand? There's no ambiguity in its decision making. So if you think, if it's like a soft reset or hard reset, say, if you turn the body's systems off, when you turn it back on again, then it recognizes, there's nothing else in the system. So it's like a hard reset that takes place in that regard. So the intelligence and technology applied to just a simple thing like sneezing within the mechanics of the body, you can see, as I say, that certain intelligence has been applied to work within the rules and make sure other systems obviously work in an optimum fashion, or autonomous fashion. I mean, it doesn't require analysis or something to make a decision. It works, I suppose, in its own regard, or automatically, for lack of a better word. Any questions? Any questions about the class, or any questions about what we're talking about now?
No questions.
Okay. So, depending on the perspective, let's go back up. Yeah, so you depend on the perspective. When we looked at that verse there, let me go a little bit in. We see the association with the oven, the oven. You understand? We talked about this before. When a woman's pregnant, so in the West, I don't know if it applies in all Western countries. But in England, they have a term "bun in the oven," describing the fact that a person is pregnant. You understand? So depending on how you read certain things, and who's speaking as well, will determine, I suppose, how certain things are going to read a bit differently now we understand this knowledge. It's got Matthew chapter 3 verse 9. It says, "After this manner therefore pray ye, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name." 10 verse 10, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." 11, "Give us this day our daily bread." And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Now, you've got this character in the book named Jesus, who we understand in their context is the head of obviously their religion, and the 144,000 in relation to what they're referring to as the rapture. You understand? Now we understand it from the perspective of them taking food, You understand? Well, if Jesus told human beings to pray after these manner, then who was saying it beforehand? So if angels were saying it, according to them, or a group of extraterrestrials, give us this day our daily bread, well, what would the meaning of that be overstood here on earth? You understand? Because that bread is not speaking necessarily about bread, i.e., hovis, you understand, or sliced bread, or whatever the case may be. Now, when we look at other quotes, which we've shown you before, but for those who join us for the first time, Psalm 78:25 says, man did eat angels' food, and he sent them meat to the full. Well, what's angels' food? You understand? Because, excuse me, angels' food being different from human beings' food, seemingly. You understand? And you have a plethora of quotes, which we just was reading about previously, where these angels or extraterrestrials coming here into Earth eating meat. You understand? Animal or human, or human if you consider human being an animal. Do you understand? Eating that meat. And it's obviously compounded, as we know, famous quote, Revelation chapter 19, 17. It says, and I saw an angel stand in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God. 18, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, the flesh of captains, the flesh of mighty men, the flesh of horses, and of them both that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. You understand? So you can see where this ties into, giving ourselves this daily bread, or this quota that's required, as I say, for, you understand, these governments that have made these deals with extraterrestrials for their technology, and them having a quota of human beings to give up, you understand, because obviously these extraterrestrials have a taste for human flesh. And we understand, obviously, in their Bible story, how, as I say, the Bible itself is an extraterrestrial menu book, but in order to season the food with adrenaline, it needed human beings to commit negative acts or be under a significant amount of stress, which causes us to secrete adrenaline, obviously from our glands. So, and you see this in Malachi chapter 2, verse 17. Ye have wearied the Lord with your words, yet ye say, wherein have we wearied him? When ye say, everyone that doeth evil is good in the sight of the Lord, and he delighteth in them, or where is the God of judgment? So in a sense, this is the Levitical priesthood speaking to Malachi, obviously challenging the fact that, obviously he's challenging them that they had, corrupted the law, etc., etc. But they're saying to him, well, listen, we're doing what we was told. Yeah, everyone that doeth evil is good in the sight of the Lord. And where is the God of judgment? So where is the extraterrestrial that we were dealing with? We don't know you like that. You understand? So it's showing that different groups of extraterrestrials manipulating, human beings in this regard to do their adverse bidding. And obviously in the context of these modern times, seemingly there's an exchange. But, as you see in, I think, that movie Prometheus, understand, when they thought they found God and God saw them, insane, he obviously sought to attack them in the movie and take them out. He saw human beings as an enemy. So in this context, they think maybe they'll curry favor with the Tananu or the reptilians, obviously, who in their hierarchy, obviously the winged class are at the top of the class there, clearly. And remember that those groups of reptilians had the Pleiadians, understood, another group of extraterrestrials in slavery, or they had them in servitude, and they were food for the reptilians, you understand? So their history or their story, which they want to hide from the world, you understand, is that effectively not only were they food, but they were a form of what we would call today, I suppose, genetic warfare, you understand, or germ warfare, designed or created and designed to house a disease, you understand, which could be triggered and obviously kill anybody who obviously ingested them as food. Hence why they're referred to as obviously germ man. Do you understand? Or Marty talked about that, he is a disease. It's because their history is that the Pleiadians created them in their image and likeness, and then worked with other groups. You understand? Imhotep, Enki, eventually Egypt, and Enki, understand, to disease this Adamite, as they would refer to it, as infested with this disease, to become the Canaanites, if you're speaking biblically, and house them with the diseases, so to kill these reptilians who they were gathering food for in the form of human beings. You understand? So this is right there in their Bibles, right there in their culture, right there in their story, but don't obviously want to release that to the world because obviously through the television and the cinema, they've given a certain impression, in a sense, of superiority to the world, and their insecurity doesn't allow them obviously to let the actual facts of who they are, play out accordingly. You understand? So they know these group of diseased human beings or hybrids, you understand, are the ones obviously that they want to wipe out and take off the planet, you understand, or remove, certainly all gone by the year 2060. Now, let's continue. So we understand, as say, this journey or compatibility and incompatibility that's naturally there between male and female. So let's dig in a bit deeper and see what the Master Teacher talks about as it pertains to race. So 195, if the seeds are not compatible and uncompatible or unnatural, will poison all of the Fatira natural and they die. So being the cursed seed of Ka'anu, Canaanites, they have regressive Yahasat genes. They are in fact incompatible to your own and will kill the black gene. 196. Now some Mulbanu whites have Haradu children with Nagaru Negroids in the West because of the Shamutat years of slave rape, the Malatus. So both sides have weaker sperm and Hafath ovum, so they can breed, yet not all. 197. And those Mulbanu whites who do have lots of black in them, which does not always show outwardly, have problems giving birth when it's two Mulbanu whites. 198. They need hormone therapy or a doctor's assistance to have children. The doctors who know will never tell a white woman you have a Negroid ovum, or a white man you have black mature sperm. They will just prescribe medication to help them conceive, and in some, it can't happen. 199. The same with blacks. The doctor will not tell a black woman you have a white ovum, or a black man you have white sperm. 200. So the white man's mature sperm is a poison to the black man's sperm in a black woman's raham womb. 201. When the black man's sperm is a healing factor to the white woman's hafaf ovum, this is why no matter what or who, if you're mixed, you're black. 202. Mulbanu whites will make it very clear that all mixed persons are of the Tasu Sanafu, 9 species of the Hamam Salal black race. You understand? Remember, physical ethers, the term physical ethers relates to a species, number of species within a race. Be they part Indian, part Asian, part Caucasian, mixed persons are black, whether they accept this fact or not. No matter how light or wabar hair texture or Yaanuwn color, 203. And many whole sub-races don't know they're black outside of these. They want to be accepted as white, who will smile yet not accept them. These are the human or human, those Mennonite races, people of Yaanuwn color. You understand? So this is showing you that, as we was expressing previously, more people on the planet understood fall into the category of being, you understand, black or Negroid than in fact there are that fall into the category of being white. You understand? And actually, as I say, as we explained earlier, when you even go further into the proper definition, you're talking about a person who is white, who has the RH negative blood type. Do you understand? Or D antigen. Do you understand? So they have that particular configuration. That is truly what is white. And obviously, as you understand, white supremacy, the programming, etc., more people want to fall into the category of being Mukasu or Caucasian, you understand, wannabes in that regard. And even people, even people of our own color who are blacker than black, wanting to be other than self and kind. So the spell casting, do you understand, is strong, understood, and in that regard. But these hidden characteristics, understood, explain, or our understanding, as I say, of the genes, it's helping us to understand why things don't appear the way they be. So when people talk about, well, things happen for a reason, they don't know what they're talking about. Insofar as things happen for a reason, insofar as everything happens for a reason, they don't really understand the thing part of the statement. Do you understand? So that is things, or things that we can't see, you understand, which are driving some of these outcomes that we're looking at. And so why we understood the importance of genes and practice, in times of when we were in the knowledge of who and what we were and are, we practiced eugenics, you understand, to keep the genes strong. So we did not get, the kind of issues that you're seeing here, whether it's compatibility issues or diseases, so on and so forth. That is the case. Now, clearly, like we've done in times past, if the racism on the planet wasn't so deep, obviously we could utilize the genes of the three races that are left. Do you understand? And if everybody mixed in with the Negroid race, do you understand, over a period of several generations, human beings, obviously genes would be stronger, and it would eliminate obviously all of the defects and deficiencies, you understand, over a period of generations. Okay, so we see here Negroids, obviously Africans, Dravidoids, Indians, Mongoloids, Asians, Aboriginoids, Australians, and then obviously true Australians, and mixed Caucasoid Europeans all over the world. So 204, all sub-races are in fact Khamem Salau, black race, just as the above Indian, Asian, Aborigines, except the Yarap, the pure Nordics, not the ones mixed, who don't know their own history of being offsprings of Mubanu, whites raping others. 205, such as Arabs don't know their product of Abraham, a Chaldean, raping Hajar or Hagar, an African. This is why Arabs are attracted to Africans and invaded Northeast Africa and mixed in and now call themselves Egyptians, Libyans, Tunisians, Algerians, Moroccans, West Saharans, and others. 206, they invaded and took over and spread the Arabian Lahaj language of Arabic mixed with a mixture of Italian, French, Spanish, Greek, and called it their own Arabic dialect. 207, all of Arabia was part of Africa at one time. Those there today are a mixture of Turks, Caucasoid Indians, Dravidoids, and African Negroids. This is what is being called Arabians of Arabia today. Arab means mixed, mingle in both Hebrew and Arabic. And so you see the word in there in the diagram. 208, who you mix your bodily fluids with affects your DNA. At 209, who you have sexual intercourse with affects your DNA. Their Salafu ancestors become your Salafu ancestors from 30 to 60, and whomever they mix their DNA with becomes part of you and affects your daily life and offsprings and 4 generations. So this is what obviously we've been explaining obviously to you, so you'd understand obviously what's being expressed here. And there's no do-overs. The rules are the rules, understood. And when we had this knowledge and now coming back into that knowledge, you understand, it's a case of, well, now you know can you make a difference? You understand? Can you make decisions that are more self-preserving as opposed to self-destructive in this context? You understand? And as we said, I sort of keep going over and repeating the same thing. You understand? If you had, 3-4 wives, understood, taken care of, managing obviously how, that DNA is being shared, you're going to be subject to some criticism in the Western Hemisphere. You understand? Yeah, if people wanted to be able to judge your bedroom, but yet go and sleep with 100 women or whatever the case may be, and spread your DNA and share it all about, exchanging fluids with no regard, or you understand? Maybe a woman sleeps with 100 men or whatever the case may be, exchanging fluids, or whomever they sleep with. That they wouldn't be judged in the same way as somebody who had a situation that's controlled. You understand? It's organized, it's managed. Yeah, you don't get judged in the same way. Yeah, somebody can see with 100 people. Look how much genetic confusion arises from one-night stands or hookups and different things of that nature. Do you understand? And not sufficient time left between partners. You understand? You're spreading diseases. You're spreading confusion that has generation to generational impact, especially when you're dealing with situations where people's genes or the mixing together of certain people is not compatible. You understand? Certain combinations maybe of the way the person's living themselves is not compatible when they exchange fluids. So none of this is known, but obviously the ignorance that surrounds all of this, who's it beneficial to? Do you understand? And this is what you have to think about, who are promoting all this hot girl summer, all these different things, because it keeps human beings, or certainly the Nagaru, following or interpreting the ways of the beast, it keeps us mortal. You understand? It keeps us held here, never to inherit, you understand, our divine rights, our divine abilities, skills, talents, obviously that we were inherently designed with. Understood? Designed to weaken the genes, obviously, of the woman. As we know, sexually, men are weakened physically through sex. Women's DNA is weakened through the sexual process. Understood? Okay, 210. An evil seed can make you evil and bring evil into your DNA. Yachasat genes, the enemy within. Enemy within, which we wasn't paying attention to. Hence why we were taught by the master teacher what? We have to clean ourselves inside out and outside in. You understand? We have to clean up our genes. And as we've expressed, that may not happen within a single person's lifetime. We can start the process of change, you understand? And then our children, and their children, and their children's children, do you understand? 4 generations, when we get that shift, is where we see the significant improvement. 211, your Salafu ancestors will be affected by their Salafu ancestors. 212, the male you mate with and his DNA becomes part of you, and his Yasar family, his sins become your family's sins. You sleep with them, crossbreed with them, you take on the La'an curse of Barasi leprosy, their diseases, their germs, their sicknesses. 213, you in time lose your very Ba'ah soul to them. You don't need them, they need you. They have regressive Yahasat genes and must mix with other races or they will fade out of existence. 214, so mixing with the opposites or the Leben Salah white race as a black female to their male will destroy the female's divinity. Not the same the other way round. As for white females, black males give her divinity. 215. In the monotheistic to power world of reform, Jews and Christians, their females can do anything, with anything or anybody, anywhere, anytime, any age, any way, with anybody. This is not the way of Nabab or Wu-Sabat. 216. In the Islamic faith, those females follow their religion's laws strictly. You'll see they cannot do anything with anyone or anything. Even masturbation is a sin to Muslims. Again, this is not the way of Wu-Sabat. 217. In Wu-Sabat, Zazaz men and Zazaz Tatu women are equal and acknowledge that Zazaz, man, came from woman. She holds a genetic seed, the mitochondrial DNA. 218. Again, this does not mean she's better. And as for those women who were westernized before accepting Wu-Sabat and had sex with many men before marriage, you are not the divine seed. You must be an example for our next generations, telling them of your mistakes, so they don't make the same mistakes with their bodies as you did. 219. The Bible and the Quran are patriarchal doctrines. They're gods, they're gods, angels, even the devil is male to them, and most religious leaders in those faiths are Ayashu, males. They are ruled by males. 220. Our culture is animism, matriarchal. 221. Deities and rulers, both female, Ayashu males, overseen by clan mothers in our tribe, pertain to us, means just that, being part of each other in all shayanat things in life and marriage, as well as leadership. You understand? So, in a recent update, I'll go into this in a second, but in a recent update, when it deals with clan mothers, obviously, which deals with our Native American side as the indigenous people to that continent overstood. Yeah, and in a recent update, I said we don't have clan mothers and clan fathers anymore. Obviously, that related to our Native American heritage side. And in actuality, when we go back and we look at where it came from, this idea of matriarchal or the kind of clan mother idea arises anyway out of ancient Egypt first, with the feminine icon, which I'll touch upon in a bit. Now, so Zazatu women in our cultural way of life do not move from relationship to relationship. That is not the way of the sacred Vanastasu feminine. 223. She will not sleep with or have sex with any Nawah kind, with a male, not her legal partner. 224. She will never be any man's sex toy, only his legal wife. She will never be any man's concubine. 225. And 226. She will never be any boy's girlfriend. They are friends, not lovers or sexual partners in any way. So this is the sort of standard that we have to work to get. Back to. You understand? Yeah, and this is just, I think we've gone over this before, but it's a good point to say that I think obviously with this clan mother term, actually, this comes way before that. It's just to the fact that when we've set up our cultures or when we set up our structures, whether we call it government or administration, it's always based tie in or to be in sync with natural nature. Understood. So here from, let's take it from let's take it from 742. Sorry, Harai, Nabab, what time you got there, please?
420.
Okay. All right. Let's try and deal with this, and then we'll finish up on that point. So it says, my blessed 74, my blessed children of Wu-Sabat, this my gospel is reaching inside you to awaken the divine in you. 743. So in both it expands or grows as it rotates like a nebula or new baby. 744. So you can see what has happened in the birth of this one universe is the same thing that happens inside the feminine. Cycles of growth and expanding into living beings, or Mikwakat, Misbatatat, or Miahat, planets, stars, and moons, and so much more. So this is from the very kind of beginning of this series of classes, talking to you about this idea of correlation. Do you understand? And how on different, whether it's planes of existence or different parts of existence, we can see this link back to the very origin of us as things, do you understand, as that in that state before energy was energy. Do you understand? This world is things, and how that line, do you understand, or kind of soul seed sort of follows from that point and follows us even to us to this day, and how we sit in correlation as supreme beings, you understand, with other life forms. We see the pattern of growth is exactly the same, just happens to be on a smaller scale. Now, 745. So as this universe birthed this mishmash sun and placed in the center of this solar system. 746. Also, the mother births this sun and places in his center a solar plexus and central sun. 747. So in human beings, the early development stage of pregnancy is the embryo stage. 748. So this also is the early development stage of a Wahoo Makwan universe. Since natural nature, science maintains that natural nature and all of its universes or multiverses are living. 749. Organized rational beings from the standpoint of original creation and birth is the exact same. 750. This does not take place in the masculine, only the feminine. 751. The nebula universe is an embryo universe, a universe of natural nature growing life. You understand? So again, this correlation that we've been going on about, you understand, these patterns that we see in nature, obviously deliberate by design. You understand? Now let's jump towards this. Yeah, let's jump a little bit further in. So we understand about cycles, obviously, within the female, as I say, in correlation with universal growth. Now, 754, her body cycles with the lunar or moon. Yeah, we know this as the term lunar biology. Understood? 755, each month, she is Mother Nature. 1000%, yeah, M other. Yeah, so we know that the perfect number, remember, is M other, isn't it? So M, the original, which even in the Roman numerals, they use M for 1,000. So 1,000 being that perfect number. And then the different races, remember, have a represented numerology. I can't even say that word. It was represented by numbers. So you know what I'm trying to say. So 999 would represent the Negroid out of 1,000. Do you understand? Dravidian, 666 out of 1,000. The Caucasian, 333 out of 1,000. Yeah, you learned this in books like the Nine Ball, etc. So the M is the 1,000, the perfect number. You understand? The M other, the true 1,000, because the zeros there that make up the number really represent an offspring from the original. Do you understand? Or maybe a better way to use it is the word version. You understand? So we have versions off of the original. Do you understand? And as I say, the only being who has proved the existence of another outside of herself. Do you understand? Because of the fact that when the baby's in the womb, the mother can feel the baby as she feels about herself. It's not an illusion. Everybody else is not an illusion in this context of light to them, as if we understand how our eyes work. Do you understand? It's an illusion of light, the world around us. Do you understand? And to us, the only real thing is us. You understand? In terms of the way we can feel about ourselves, we can't feel that about another human being. But only the mother, when pregnant, has established that reality, that somebody else outside of herself exists, you understand, and not just images generated within her own mind. Yeah. 756, all others grow inside her. She grew this very universe you dwell inside, still in her womb, and seek to re-enter her womb, attracted as matter or physical. 757. This is the gospel of Yaanuwn, of the sacred feminine, reveals to you Wapians or Sabians, her 9 daughters and secrets. Understood? So this thinking or doctrine is where the origin of the clan mother thinking. So if you set up your structure or your organization or your tribal governance or whatever the case may be, you're setting it up based on what happens within nature, because you want to keep that correlation. Understood? Remember, Wu-Sabat is a frequency being broadcast which we lost our connection to. Do you understand? It had to be restored, so to speak, and that connection that we're referring to obviously is that ba'a, or our soul. Do you understand? Or in alignment, working with the akata. You understand? The drawdown, the frequency that we lock ourselves into as a race. You understand? So all different races on the planet lock into different frequencies that allow them to connect with their own spiritual science, which connects them to their ancestors. Understood? And it's not the same for those different races. If it was, we would all look the same or similar. Do you understand? So we vibrating obviously on a higher frequency, and that is why a person cannot imitate somebody else and fulfill their potential. Do you understand? In fact, it's unnatural for human beings of different races to imitate or fall after the likeness of another race if that's not their ancestral link, background, or culture. This is anti-nature. Understood? So, a universe of nebulas with the original mother goddess star, Tat of this universe, who from its center birthed 9 daughters, 759. Tat forms within herself, so Reye, remember, is the sun, yep, or in this case, female version, forms within herself an embryo of natural nature, 760. Tat has the energy of 9 reasons, 9 minds, 761, and with them concentrates and initiates the divine growth of others called planets. 762. From constellations to galaxies to the solar system, a fetus in its which all true planets and stars are fully formed and developed. 763. All from the mother sun Tat. 764. She initiates the formulation and development of the 9 daughters from her core or womb. 765. And the full growth around the core takes place. 766. Tat, the great mother of this solar system, promotes the development of this one Khatat body or universe from the omniverse. 767. From her fetus is born 9 daughters. Understood? So in that regard. So we'll go into that in the next class and break that down in some more detail. It's to note that the term clan mother, which we don't use anymore because of our disassociation with that sort of Native American. We understand who we are in terms of Native, but then the further mixes that have taken place and the fact that still not respected in that space as those indigenous people in that continent means that for its time it served a purpose, the Native American link, but as you step further back into the culture, then really when we're talking about Native American, we're talking about American Indians, we're talking about the Anasazi, you understand, and those who walked from Africa over to the Americas primarily on vacation. And when continental drift happens, our people stayed there, do you understand, or were trapped there, for lack of a better word. And obviously in that context, where does this originate from? Well, it's coming from what we're reading about here, do you understand? The formulation of, life, you understand, pre us here, the physical on this planet, you understand, dealing with what was taking place in the darkness, obviously before things manifest into light, the world of things, you understand, or the world of energy, or even pre-energy, you understand, the form of basic energy into energy, motion, movement, that world of things into matter, do you understand, and how that growth processes as they started with us being there from the very origin of things. There is no scenario or situation where we wasn't there. Do you understand? As that sacred feminine, as that mother. Basic energy is feminine in origin. Understand? And basic energy gave birth to energy. Understood? So us getting these understanding of things, and then you see the correlation of well, that's why we've set our whatever government or governance structure or whatever spiritual structure in line, in correlation, in a sense to keep that link, because we, as we know, and I've said this many times before, we are a people, we are evidence of a people where the link obviously was destroyed, you understand, and didn't exist. This is what's the result when we look at our people today versus what we were in a den of the past. Then we can see the difference, can't we? In the sense of just in the last maybe 6,000 years of that real decline away from who we are, in a sense, into obviously what we became. In a sense, so we gone from the who into a what, understood? And now we have to get back to the who again, in a sense, and that first starts clearly with awareness, in a sense, and knowledge, and reprogramming back ourselves with these actual facts to reawaken those dormant divine genes within. So any questions before we close? We'll finish up this on the next class. Yeah.
No questions.
Nothing at all. Okay, so people very quiet today. Okay, so the end. Yeah, so next class is going to be on the 8th of October. It's 2 weeks' time. So we'll continue with this and we'll move, because we only got a few more on this particular subject on epigenetics, and then we'll move to something else, still within the same scroll, but move to a completely different subject matter. But obviously everything's always linked, but a different subject matter as we sort of wrap up epigenetics on that side of things. So once again, if there's no other questions, we'll close out the class for today. Appreciate everybody attending. And if there are any questions, I'll say in the chat here, we'll pick those up in a week. So thank you to those joining us on Facebook. Thank you for those joining us on Zoom today. Much appreciated for your engagement, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Take care all. See you soon.